getting close to that time when I should be allowed back on Facebook again. And of course, my page is gone. So the question immediately becomes, if I'm just selling porcupines, if I'm wrong about all this shit, wrong about Israel, wrong about Trump, wrong about racism, wrong about Tartaria, wrong about...
Why would they fuck with your page?
Why would I get it worse than anybody you know? Like, it's hard to, like, because I live it, I just sort of, it's like I assume everybody kind of gets it. But chances are you don't. Chances are you've never seen or heard anything like this before.
I've asked other truthers, like that Shane Bodie guy or whatever. He's always posting shit that's more
Insane.
than
Insane.
and he doesn't get, like, he'll get in Facebook jail a couple times here and there. But I asked him one day, and he does not get what you get.
Nobody does. If I talk about what I get, most people are like, what? They think I'm lying. So, and the thing is, I'm not like everybody else. I believe we live in a TV show. I believe, you know, I believe everything points back to the Jews in Israel. You know, I just don't understand. Like, I see things all the time where people will be like, this is the esoteric symbols of Guadalupe, you know, blah, 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 blah. This is the symbols of ancient, who knows what. All the runes and stuff like that. My wife's very familiar with those things. And I asked the questions like, well, who came up with that? How do we know that stuff's true? Like, I've been asking questions that it seems like everybody should ask, but they don't. And then again, I believe I'm reasonably articulate. I'm not ignorant. I'm not, encouraging negativity. I'm not. I want life to be better for everyone, including the Jews. I say this all the time. The key to our salvation, the key to making everything better, is what I call true selfishness. And, your arrogant selfishness where, you don't want to help people and stuff like that, that's not what I'm talking about. True selfishness is me believing that that I want my wife, myself, and my kids to live the best, happiest, safest life they can live. And the only way that can happen is if everyone else is living the happiest, healthiest, safest life they can live. That's the only way any of us can be truly happy, truly safe, truly secure, any of it. Same thing with the Jews. If you as a person, not a belief, not an identity that was assigned to you, but you as a person want to live the happiest, healthiest, safest life you can live, I'm all for it. The only way you can be happy, healthy, and safe is if we eliminate the things that create the the supremacy and we have to address the negatives.
Jefferson's?
Her?
The
black lady.
Yeah, the black lady.
No, that's not the maid.
Are you sure?
Yep. But the thing is, I don't even get a notification. I don't even get told that my shit is wrong. You know, and my Facebook picture says the leading cause of anti-Semitism is Jewish behavior. Maybe that's it.
Maybe.
I don't know. But even still, it's like, so? Like, again, I see so much worse posted on a regular basis.
The nudity. The fucking...
Right. I actually reported somebody today for tagging me in something because it was just this random tag on this chick's page that was literally like to a porn site. Like it was that there was a little porn video and you could see a pussy looking at it. Like that shit all exists. You know, I see racism. I see like, you know, how much Confederate flag shit can you find? It's everywhere. That's
Oh, but that's not racism.
That's 100%
That's
racist.
pride in the country.
Okay, well I'm proud of my shit. I'm proud of being a goyim. I'm proud of my
But that's not country pride.
well, but it's a belief. It's I'm proud to be an American who's free to believe what I want to believe. Supposedly. But it's you know, I mean, there's a chance it's a glitch. I doubt it.
But you did nothing. Like it was.
I didn't do anything
When did you change that profile picture?
weeks ago.
That's been that.
Right, but that just means it's you know somebody just goes. I don't know. And the thing is, if Facebook disables your account, they tell you. You go to log in, it says this
Yeah.
account has been disabled.
This is just-
I know because I've had it happen before. But when you go looking for it, it doesn't exist. And the thing is, my wife just said she just got a notification from me that I tagged her in something, which I did about an hour and a half ago.
Before you got deleted.
Right.
But
And
I've been checking my Facebook.
and she
I have
just
no
got the notification, then went to the notification and it said can't load the page.
And then when I went back, the notification was completely gone.
Right. So these are all things that happen when your shit's deleted. But I don't, you know, like, it's one thing to censor someone who's right and telling a truth you don't want told. But if I'm wrong, then how does it make sense? If I'm wrong when I talk about how stupid these Trump supporters are and how, you know, I mean, it's ridiculous how nothing they have. I keep trying to think, did I post something? I didn't post anything. Oh, you know what I did? I said, the last thing I posted actually, I said, what's with teens, especially black teens, walking down the middle of the road and then getting mad when...
You're like, get the fuck out
Right.
of the road?
That was the last thing I posted.
Because that shit happens all the time.
Right.
And it's not... I actually see that more with the white kids in our area.
Oh, God,
than the
no.
black kids.
No, the black kids do it all the time. But even still, like, identifying people, that's not racism. It's asking a question, like, why do the black kids do this? Why does anybody do that? Or black, white kid, why does anybody walk down the middle of the street and expect cars to... I'm in a car.
And the road is for the car.
And you have a sidewalk on either side of the street.
Sidewalk. Like it's spelled out for you.
Even if you have to walk in the street, you can walk down the side of it.
And not get mad when a car's trying to drive on the road it's built to drive on.
Right. That'd be like me driving down the sidewalk and getting mad at people for flipping me off.
That are trying to walk.
Right. But again, you know, I got 3 people here. I've been, my YouTube numbers have been decent lately. So I've been, let me see something quick. So I've been you know, I mean, I'm saying all the same things. I'm doing all the same things. I don't understand what the difference is now.
Now, see, when I searched you, it came up, but when I clicked on it, that's when it said can't load page.
Right.
So you're still registering as being there. They've just blocked you from having access to it.
It's fucking strange. I mean, honestly, it's strange, but it's what you would expect if somebody was right. Right? If I was wrong, then it would make sense. It wouldn't make any sense. Like, I mean, it wouldn't make any sense. Why would they do these kinds of things to somebody that's wrong? But if I'm right, then what's happening here? It's scary. It is, because this is, freedom of speech and all of those other things that we talk about, we complain about, we take seriously. There's all sorts of violations going on here.
Well, no, because Facebook isn't it's a private
I get it. No, I
forum.
get that. I'm just saying this is a Facebook that claims to be. I don't even care. It's not even about face. It's about anything. If I was sitting there making a page that was all about how little fairies live in the sky and they actually control, all of our movements and stuff with invisible strings, nobody would fucking bat an eye at that.
Oh, they just write you off. It's crazy.
If I was sitting here talking about how the Muslims, man, those Muslims, they sure are crazy and they're doing all kinds of crazy shit. And here in Detroit, the Muslims are this, that, and yeah. If I was doing it, nobody'd have a problem with it. Muslims might, but then no one would care.
Okay, so today there was the article about there's a hotel in Detroit. There's a big lawsuit against them because this dude applied for a job using his birth name and it's an ethnic sounding name. And then he reapplied using a very white name with his same resume and he got called in and was offered the job. So he's suing them.
Smart.
And
He's gonna win.
Metro Times has the article on it. So all these people are commenting on it.
White people are
And
like,
this-
"What the fuck? That's stupid."
this
Blah blah
one
blah.
was
Black
like,
dudes are like, "Yeah, that's crazy."
If you want a fair chance at a job, then quit naming your kids these crazy ass Lashandras and Ladondras and all this shit he was saying. Quit naming them all these fucked up names, and then you have a better chance at And wow, did he get attacked?
But he's allowed to exist.
He's allowed exactly.
He's
He didn't
allowed
get
to be
reported.
a fucking racist and a bigot and all that.
Right.
He's allowed that.
Nobody reported him. They attacked him, but didn't report him.
So what is it? And even still, how many of you don't get notified? It just happens and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? I got my notification that my login session had expired, and then when I went to, because this happens to me all the time anyway. And then I tried to do what I do, and nope, it said unexpected error. Please try again later. Unexpected error. Please try again later. So again, there's that chance, but I
Now,
don't
see,
think
I'm
it is.
getting that on one of my other, on my, I can't get into Astro Matrix anymore. I don't know.
I don't know what Astro Matrix is.
It's a, I don't know what
Oh.
the fuck happened there.
I mean, if what I was saying was, again, there are dragons flying around or something, people would just write it off as crazy. And it would be like, oh, nobody would think that guy shouldn't be allowed to say those things. Do you understand that's what's happening? You have somebody that doesn't buy the Biden or Trump narrative that questions everything about what we're told and the narrative we're given. And because of that, I'm a problem. That's 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 if you were writing, like if I was writing the book and I was like, this is the book on censorship and this is the story you'd use. And the thing is, there's no recourse. I can't even call the news and say, "Hey, news, I'm somebody that questions Trump and Biden and talks about the Jew conspiracy and they, oh well, shit, your freedom of speech is being, destroyed. You're whatever." It's just it's to me this seems so easy and yet it's so difficult. I can't possibly like so last night I'm we're at the fireworks and this we just happen to sort of be standing next to this dude and we start talking to him and he lives out there blah 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 and he's what was he, a biomedical engineer or something like that. And I was like, oh, so did you get your shots? And he was like, well, yeah. I was like, wow, that's strange. I know a lot of the medical people I've talked to didn't get their shots. And he was like, well, everyone I've talked to in the medical industry got their shots. And I was like, well, I guess I don't tend to take medicine for things I'm not sick about. And he was like, well, I was a volunteer. I worked at uh, like a help the world thing and who knows what fucking country to distribute vaccines to poor people. And they got sick for every little thing. They were getting out. And it's like, dude, like at some point I realized there's no, I made the mistake of saying something to you to begin with. What's going on? And I just can't, it would be one thing if there was a platform that I could be like this. If this shit would actually, if I was allowed to, I don't know, am I? Are you guys? I always find it strange that there's not even any negative comments coming my way, or there's no argument. Like this is social media. This is YouTube. There are 5 people, well, 3 or 5, it keeps jumping, people on here. When I'm done, it'll be a few hundred people have seen this. And it's like, I'm confused. Why would you click on the video, hear what I'm saying? Like, you see the title of the video, so you go, oh, yeah, I'm going to check that guy out. Then you checked it out, and I'm talking about the things that I put in the title, and you go, I'm not going to say anything. Like, I don't understand that. I've been telling you for a long time, Trump's gonna win. Like, I'm.
He's not going to win. They're going to give it to him.
Well, yeah. Trump will be the next president. We'll say that.
God.
And I.
That just makes me sick hearing it.
I mean, it's gross, but it's, Trump didn't win the first time, and it's crazy because you say. Trump didn't win the first time, and then the trumpets go, well, that's because Hillary cheated. How come there wasn't a big cheated scandal? And, like, what? So Hillary cheated and won, and went through all the efforts of cheating to win, won, and was like, oh, okay, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys later. Unlike what Trump did, Trump clearly lost and still made a big deal out of it. It's just, I just don't understand, man. Again, it all seems so obvious to me. I can't understand what you're not seeing. You know, when it comes to the debate, it's like I kind of expected almost like sad, like I thought, man, after watching a debate, I knew that the system was going to focus on Biden's age and not really talk about what was said. But it was surprising to see how, like, if I was a Trump guy and I watched that debate, I would have been disappointed. I would have been like, shit, man, you know, he looked terrible. He sounded like an idiot. Biden got him a couple of good times. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And I've been asking for almost 8 years now. What is it that is appealing about Donald Trump?
Nothing. There is not a single redeeming quality about that pig.
Like seriously though, what policies, what I, 40 out of the 46 people in his campaign, his presidency, his cabinet, 40 out of the 46 people refused to endorse him, including his vice president. Right, vice president. Right.
That's pretty fucking huge.
I mean, has that happened before? Has there been a story like that before where somebody won the presidency twice, but with two different vice presidents? Has there been a president that's won once, had a break, and then won again after that? Didn't Nixon do something like that? I don't know. But I'm open to it. Like, if you can show me what it is, I'll look. If you can show me the good information, I will, about any of it. You show me how the Jews aren't the bad guys. You show me how Trump isn't the bad guy. I'm lost. It's a weird feeling. I never, when you're right and you're good at it, you're supposed to get success from it. You're not supposed to find yourself in these situations that don't make any sense. And it's the same shit over and over, man. I've been doing this for a lot of years.
Dad?
Yeah, bud.
Can Rose come in to play Roblox with me?
Yeah. Beds aren't for sitting. I don't know. I just don't know. Everybody complains about the way it is. Everybody complains about the system we live in. Nobody thinks we live in this great system and this great, if we don't like it, why aren't we willing to change things and do things differently? It's so strange. It's so strange. I don't know, guys. I'm trying, man. I'm trying to be the better person, to inspire the better people, and fix the fucking world. And I just don't. I can't. Why wouldn't you want to? Like right now, again, the number keeps going from 1 to 3. I assume 1 or 2 are the Israeli trolls, but I just, I just don't know. Nope, now we're back to 5. 5 people watching. Share the video. Fucking like the video. Do stuff. Help. Contribute. At the very least, if I'm entertaining to you, help out. We all know at this point that likes and shares help the video, right? Help the channel grow. I don't know. You got Michael Rappaport. Did you see that video?
Mm-mm.
Michael Rappaport singing this song. He's in Israel, standing in a penthouse somewhere, and he's going, "If you hate Jews and you're afraid to show it, and you're afraid to say it, say Zionist. If you hate Jews and you're afraid to say it, say Zionist. If you hate Jews and you're afraid to say it, if you hate Jews and you know it, and you're too afraid to say it, show it, or something like that. If you hate Jews and you know it, say Zionist." Ha 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 ha! This maniacal laugh afterward. I don't get it. It's like well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's they are trying to get us to respond so they can shut the shit down. I don't know. The strange thing is like I've sort of given up on the idea of things working out. So it's not like I'm even doing that. I'm just a guy sitting here trying to talk about the world as I see it. I mean, the idea that we live in a time and a place where somebody doesn't like what you're saying, so that means you can't say it. That is so strange. Somebody always does. Okay, so I really don't like Christianity. I think it's disgusting. I think it's fake. I think it's stupid. All those things. So because I'm offended by it, does that mean everybody that posts Christian stuff should have their shit removed? And it's crazy to me that I get all kinds of messages and shit like that, text messages and blah, blah, blah. Like, people talking shit. But at the end of the day, I don't really even know who they are. And even more importantly, they mean nothing to me. So why would I be offended by somebody who saying something? I don't even know who you are. Let alone if I knew who you were. It's like my neighbors couldn't say anything that would offend me. I've known them for a long time and blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't be offended. I might not like what they have to say. But am I going to be like, oh my God, how could you say something like that? That is just, it's just never going to happen. Maybe not about me at least, or my kids or my wife or whatever. I don't, if you're going to talk about retarded people or something, I guess I'm going to be like, that's fucking, you shouldn't do. But I'd rather people say what they think, and I can know who you are and what you think. And I don't want to think we're friends only to find out that behind the scenes, you're a big Israel supporter and shit, or you hate black people, or whatever. I'd rather know, like it's like the idea of like when you're in a relationship with someone. I learned this the hard way. So I had a girlfriend, and I found out that at one point she was a stripper at one point, and that was whatever. Oh, I just got a message saying shut your nigger mouth and blah blah. Like, again, does somebody really think that you think that's gonna bother me? Like I just what? Like that's the thing. I just can't. I can't make. I can't wrap my head around that shit. What's done to me is shit. I would never. I would be embarrassed to be that kind of person. I would be embarrassed to create fake profiles and talk shit. If I'm gonna talk shit to you, I want you to know who it is. I mean, it's such a strange, it's such a strange Jew Israeli type shit. Like, I just and then repeat that I'm gonna keep sending the same message over. Like that's Jew stuff. That's that cowardly Jew stuff that is just, it's so different. It's so, you know, it's just so weird. Get a job, get a job, get a job. Okay, so again, it never, how do you not, like, unless it's your job to be a troll, what are you even talking about? Like, that's the stupidity I'm talking about. Like it's so strange. What level of, it it's okay. So again, at least two of the people on here are the Israeli trolls. I have four people watching, right? The two that are watching, would you do stuff like that? Do you think I'm lying? Like, I know you don't hear what I'm saying sounds foreign to you because nobody else talks about this. Alex Jones doesn't talk about the fucking, the infiltration. These guys, I see it all over. I was watching this video yesterday talking about, the Anunnaki, and all these guys are us from the future trying to prevent their existence from being wiped out. So they come out and they reset, and blah 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 blah. And to me, it's like that sounds goofy. I mean, there's parts of it that sound okay, but like I'm not. If you could be right in that conversation, I'd love to have a conversation with you. I just don't. I don't understand it. I don't understand being such a coward. But again, I'm not Jewish. So, maybe that's just what it comes down to. Jews are so used to being cowards. Cowards making up stories, making up sympathy stories, making up tough guy stories, and making up sympathy stories. Because you'll hear these stories about how these Jews of old were so tough and they were so, this, that, and the other. It's like Jews were real good at baseball up until blacks were allowed to play. Then suddenly, not so much anymore. It's like, it's just weird. It's weird to deal with cowards. You figure like, okay, I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna go against the most powerful machine in the world, the government, the system. I'm gonna go against it. And you would expect that that same system would. I mean, it's like, if you really didn't want me to be doing what I'm doing, then show me what I'm wrong about. So I don't have anything to say. Instead of adding to it by doing weird shit that doesn't happen to anybody else. It's so, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't, I mean, it does make sense. I'm sorry. It does make sense. When you put that cowardly aspect into it. But if I'm the one that's wrong and I'm going against the true narrative, it's a true narrative, right? Then you should have all of the information. You should have the advantage. Get a job. I keep getting texts. Like, again, if I'm wrong, then why is that all? Is what started the obsession? Because I initially I didn't realize it was all about the Jews. Initially, it took a while to get here. So initially, the main focus was the pedophiles, you know. But it's like these guys never deny being like I'm the guy that's texting me right now is probably a pedophile. Will he deny it? No, because and that's the other thing. Like, so why would you text me personal messages when I'm on a social media platform and you could just bust my balls in front of my audience, especially if I'm wrong? Now, again, I'm assuming maybe a lot of you just maybe you don't think I'm telling the truth. I don't know, but they're texting me. You guys could try calling the number. It's 612-429-9379. 612-429-9379. 612-439-9379. Yeah. Call them. Ask them. Ask them why they're such cowardly. I mean, and see what you guys don't get is like this has been going on for you. This is the only way I can wrap my head around it is if it's Israel, if it's the system, if I have gotten the attention of the highest levels of this, because otherwise the idea that it's just some Trump supporter, it's just some doofus. I guess I give them more credit than that. I can't imagine somebody is that big of a loser that they don't. It's Sunday. It's a beautiful Sunday and you have nothing else going on. You don't have people that like you. You don't have things that you enjoy. You want to focus on someone you hate so much. It's just strange. And I guess you could say, well, you're doing the same thing. Well, I'm doing it because I want the world to be a better place. If there's something I'm doing that's preventing the world from being a better place, then let me know. But I hope you guys understand, like this all has to do with me talking about the Jews. I don't even think it's Trump as much. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a neither guy, but there are plenty of neither guys out there, neither people out there.
Oh, lots of them.
Right.
Even former Trump supporters are now neither people.
I would think that would be more prominent. This shouldn't be so difficult. If you are proud of what you like, for me, I am proud of my anti-Semitism. If you ask me about it, I'm not going to just start texting you, get a job from a fake number and all that. I'm going to engage you. Well, this is why I think this way. You know, this is what I think we could do, blah, blah, whatever. I can't imagine I'm a Trump supporter and it bothers me if people ask me why. I can't say anything. How do you support somebody that you can't Ben Gurion Canal? What? Again. Okay.
I can't even hear his voice without going.
Canal idiot. What Ben Gurion Canal idiot? What does that even mean? Like this, and I have to do it because they won't say it on the feed. Like I'm telling you, I'm getting these texts over and over. This is the 15th text, 16th text, and that's from this number. There were the 10 or so from the previous number. Does that make sense to you guys? I kind of think whoever this person is, maybe they were in jail for a little while because I wasn't getting it for a minute. But again, this is how the Jews are. Can I say that for a second? This is Jew stuff. It's all right in front of you. Let's see. The Ben Gurion Canal Project is stupid. The Ben Gurion Canal Project is an ambitious proposal by Israel to construct a massive canal connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. Oh yeah, that's what this wipeout is for. It's one of the reasons for this genocide is because a lot of those people live in the way. The 160-mile canal would traverse the Negev Desert and the southern end of the Gulf of Aqaba. What? What? Okay, Nick? Dude, seriously, you know what you're doing, right? So stop. And then ask yourself, like, seriously, other than some dumb Jew, who is going to even be how many among you, how many people among you and your crowd do you know that's talking about the Ben Gurion Canal?
Nor how many of them care, even if they're talking about it. Do they
Or
really
even heard about it? How many people have heard about it? I would imagine none of you have heard about it. I personally, I knew I had heard of it before, and when I started reading it, I knew that's what it was. But when I'm getting these multiple 15, 16, 18 texts saying, Ben Gurion Canal, idiot. Again, other than dumb Jews,
supposed to be an argument for?
they're dumb Jews. I don't know what else you want to say. They're fucking stupid. And all they do is prove the point. It's the strangest fucking experience. I'm telling you, this has been such an interesting journey because, like, when you fail at something, you generally have some idea as to why. Right? Like you go, well, I didn't do this right, I didn't do that right, blah, 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 blah. Most people don't. When was the last time you were stalked by people you didn't know? When was the last time, somebody texted you, Ben Gurion Canal, idiot? Like, think about it. It's like how October 7th. If October 7th, if anything other than what happened on October 7th happened, I'd have been wrong. So I really am. You really are dumb as fuck. Really, I'm really dumb because you're texting me nonsense, and I'm supposed to mind read it? Like, think about how stupid that is. If again, if you had, you had a belief structure, you had a whatever, and somebody's asking you about it, do you get mad and cry? Especially when you think you're right? It's just such a strange thing, man. It's such a strange experience to be dealing with the stereotype, because that's what it really comes down to. The stereotype just gets, they follow it to a T. Cowards, speaking in codes, picking fights, and then calling then calling the police, and all that shit. That's what they do. They are disgusting, horrible people. And they do nothing but prove it. When was the last time you saw a bunch of Jews doing some good stuff that just benefited everyone? Everyone in the world benefits from this Jew organization. They're blah, blah, blah. Whatever it was. Have you ever seen that? The proposed canal would originate from Israel port city of Eilat on the Red Sea, across the Jordanian border, flow through Arabah Valley, enter the Dead Sea, and then head northward around the Gaza Strip before reaching the Mediterranean. Or it could just go through the Gaza Strip. The estimated cost of this colossal undertaking is staggering 100 billion US dollars. So, ask yourself, people, why are US dollars, 100 billion of them, being spent on an Israeli infrastructure canal that's going to benefit Israel?
Who else does it benefit?
Israel. Why are we paying for that? Why are your American tax dollars paying for that? Why is Biden and Trump, both of them, doesn't matter who you pick, your American president is going to be, your live will be all about Ben Gurion. Tomorrow your live will be all about Ben Gurion. Fuck you, it said. Tomorrow my live will be all about Ben Gurion.
Why?
Why? Right. I wish it was because Ben Gurion Airport blew up. But, you know, this being said, if something were to happen, and I'm essentially predicting it because I'm getting told that something's going, like, other than Jews and Israelis in high level anything, who's going to know? Speculations abound that Israel's desire to control Gaza and eliminate the influential Hamas organization is inextricably linked to unlocking the immense economic opportunities presented by the Ben Gurion Canal to Israel. But see, again, this I gotta back up. So many people fall for the Trump side of things because he's so, like, you know, America first, and we need to stop spending money, sending money to all these different countries, and we need to, you know, blah, blah, blah. All that shit. You know,
Israel.
except for Israel. Why? And the thing is, at the end of the day, why would that be a bad question? Why would it be a problem for someone like me to ask that? Like, seriously, don't you guys have that question too? The idea that 100 billion US dollars would be spent on an Israeli fucking infrastructure project?
When our own infrastructure is just
Shit.
falling the fuck
Shit.
apart.
What do you think 100 billion dollars sank into the United States infrastructure would do? What do you think 100 billion dollars sank into the homeless problem would do?
Texas is facing one of the worst hurricanes they've seen in a long time. It's supposed to hit tomorrow. What do you think they could do with that money? All those people that are about to lose their homes
Right.
and their cattle and their everything.
Everything.
Texas is fucking cattle.
Right. All you
Central
meat eaters,
USA.
boy, you are about to.
Your beef is about to go through the fucking roof.
And it's already through the roof.
Oh, hell yeah, it is.
It's
I
it's
just went
disgusting.
to the grocery
Yeah.
store and
The cost of dead animal flesh.
I couldn't believe it, sweetheart. You would not believe how much it is. We haven't bought meat in so long that I actually had to buy meat for my mom's house. And I was fucking choking.
She chokes kind of easily.
That was really bad.
You know, again, where are the text messages? If you have something to say so badly, and I'm reading your text message, come on, inform us there, oh great one, oh great Israeli trash. You know, I've been I can't help but notice that I was on like a 65-day block, 60-day block, something like that. And I always, it's hard to do because it's such a long period of time. But if you look at what goes on during these time frames where I get blocked, where I can't, and it's crazy too because it's not even like I've been allowed. Like my Facebook page was completely, tomorrow your life will be all about. Wait, what did that say?
The canal.
Will be all about the canal. Inform yourself, nigger.
Wow.
It's so, it, it it's Jews, man. It's these dumb Jews. This is how they are.
But they're allowed to be that racist, huh?
Of course they are. They always have been. Their whole belief structure, like the foundation of their belief structure, that they are somehow chosen by God, and the rest of us, we're all the same. Cats, dogs, sheep, cows, people, Goyim, Gentiles, we're all the same. That's a huge thing. Let's see. So this is supposed to be what it's all about. This is I'm literally reading the news. So this is from 5/12/24. So this is the top thing. Let's finish this.
That's impossible.
With significant security concerns arising from the constant military threat in the region. The constant military threat in the region is Israel. See, this is just, it's like, do you guys really believe that shit? Do you guys really believe that Israel, the absolute aggressor? You've been repeating yourself for years and have no idea why. Yeah. Again, who would know that, right? You've been watching me from the shadows for years. Like this is why they don't communicate very often. Because when they do, they out themselves, right? You know, they every time I've actually gotten them to come in the comments, they basically all but admit to being pedophiles. And it's like I can trick them into saying it pretty easily.
At the very least, stalkers.
No, they're pedophiles. It's what it is. I've already called them pedophiles. I directly called them a pedophile, and they didn't deny it. Who doesn't deny being called a pedophile? Like this is all such common sense shit to me, and I don't understand where the hang up is. Go back to the canal, yes, we are making, yep. Go back to the canal, yep. All right. The proposed canal. See again. I'm trying to make you look good, because otherwise you look really stupid. So maybe you're saying something interesting here. 186 watching on. Yep. Yeah. Somehow. So again, they supposedly rebroadcast my feed, and on the rebroadcast they have 186 other pedophiles watching. All of those people that are supposedly watching could come here and say something to me and talk shit, but none of them do. Gosh, that's believable. That's how that works. Let's see. Speculations abound that Israel's desire to control. Oh, we already read this. Eliminate the influence of Hamas. The potential economic gains from this project to far outweigh the astronomical construction costs, with the canal expected to become highly profitable within a short period. By sharing the financial burden with co-developers, the canal's construction would become more affordable and manageable. Proponents of the project envision the canal generating an annual revenue of 10 billion US dollars as international trade between the East and West continues to soar. So for the first 10 years, it's a break even.
That's a bad business.
That's bad business. That's not how business works. But this is just stupid. Uh, this strategic waterway would not only create a direct and cost-effective alternative to the Suez Canal, but also serve as a potent tool in restraining China's burgeoning economic might and its ambitious Belt and Road Initiative. The Ben Gurion Canal would boast remarkable engineering specifications, with each of its two branches designed to be 50 meters deep and approximately 200 meters wide. The dimensions would surpass the Suez Canal's depth by 10 whole meters, allowing for the seamless passage of the world's largest ships, measuring up to 300 meters in length and 110 meters in width. Additionally, the canal's rocky walls would blah 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 beyond its economic and strategic significance. Could also serve as a catalyst for regional cooperation and peace in an optimistic scenario where Israel and Palestine reach a mutually agreeable solution, which doesn't happen, such as a two-state model or a union of independent states. The canal could traverse both territories, fostering economic independence and blah, 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 blah. I am not giving a shit. All right, so let's see. There's literally nothing about the Ben Gurion Canal. That's it. That's literally, there's nothing. If you do sort by date, the newest news report was from a month ago. So I mean, it's so much focusing on stupid things like that. You're not censored, you're boring, says Ren Violet. Right. It's boring. I get it. So if I'm saying something boring, then spice it up. Tell me something. You come up with something good for me to talk about, because I guess $100 billion of United States tax dollars, that's fucking boring. I guess genocides are boring. 186 watching. Look up on YouTube, dumbass. Yep, look it up. So again, if there are 186 people watching me on anywhere, come to this feed and talk shit yourself. Don't be another typical Jew coward. Because that's really all it comes down to. It's just this cowardly Jew behavior where they lie. Like, again, you have to understand how much Jews lie. They literally lie about, they'll create entire narratives so that they can get their way with something. They'll do fake fucking shootings, synagogue shootings. They'll do, like a great lie. Remember when the second synagogue shooting happened 6 months to the day from the first one, 2018, I believe. And the rabbi supposedly grabbed the gun, the barrel of the gun. It was a high-powered assault rifle. Grabbed the barrel of the gun, and as the guy was shooting, and it blew his fingers off. It blew his finger off. So an AR-15 or whatever, if it hits your hand, it's not going to blow a finger off. It's going to blow your shit just completely apart. But apparently this guy's story is that after he got his finger blown off, he was carrying children out of the synagogue. Because there were children that needed carrying, and the guy with his finger blown off, the old rabbi with his finger blown off, was carrying multiple children. Do you understand how fucking stupid these people are? Come on, Ren Violet. Don't you have something to say? What, should I talk about Beyonce? Would that be more your speed? Like, I can't. The people that make those comments, it's like, you're such an entitled, arrogant shit that you have to say something, but you can't actually say something about anything I'm saying. So you're so used to getting the attention that you need, and that you say stupid things. And it's strange. It's just a strange. It's a strange experience. I can tell you, it's strange. I'm not censored as I'm talking on here because I was censored and then my page was deleted. So that's not censorship. I don't know how many people you know while they're live get, you know, multiple text messages from the people watching the video who refuse to talk on the video. Does that make sense in anyone's world? What's that? I just find it that, that they know there's nothing to defend. They know there's nothing they can say that's going to make sense. That's going to make me look bad. That's going to debunk anything I'm saying or any of these claims. I say they're stupid. I say they're ruthless. I say they're arrogant and selfish and just horrible, horrible people. If I'm wrong, then fucking let me know. But what a strange sight, man. It'll be interesting to see what happens if tomorrow the news is all about Ben Gurion fucking canal, because there's no reports on it today. And really, if something happens with Ben Gurion canal tomorrow or over the next 12, 16 hours, whatever, what American had the inside scoop that they would come in and tell me about it and then it would happen tomorrow? That pretty much solidifies the idea that it's Jews, it's Arab, or I mean it's Jews, it's Israelis watching and bothered by what I'm saying. Such a strange existence. It's been a strange life, I can tell you that. Oh, as I was saying, I had this girlfriend once, and she was a stripper, and she was also a fucking heroin addict. And not when I was with her, but before that. And I had found out that at one point in her career, she had taken money to have sex. She got paid like $1,000 to have sex with a dude. She said she just laid there for a minute. He did his thing, and then they were done. Some dude she knew really well. I don't give a shit about the story. But for me, it was too much. I hated it because it was like I liked her, and this made me not like her. And it probably shouldn't, but it did. And I remember telling my dad about it, and he was like, well, it's good that you're finding this out now. Can you imagine if you'd have sank 5-10 years into the relationship, you were married, you had kids, and then you found out? Not saying it's bad, but if you can't handle it, if it's not something that you're cool with, it's better that you find out these things in the beginning. And so, I've sort of taken that with me and applied that to everything since. I'd much rather know about anything before I waste a bunch of time. Like, I want to know if I'm wrong. I want to know, I've spent years doing this. If it turns out that I'm wrong, fuck, that'd have been a waste of time, huh? Come on, 186 people watching? So stupid. 186 people. That number doesn't change either, apparently. It's all they can you imagine? So basically, I'm so popular that there are 186 people that if they find out that I'm doing random live, they hurry up and jump on so they can watch me from afar and not say anything. Like, you might as well be watching TV at that point. That's what the best part about social media is. You can talk shit to the person that you don't like. 191 are laughing at you now. Yep, 100. There are almost 200 people again. Too cowardly to come here and do it. How does that make sense? How does it even work? Again, they. Hey, you guys, he's live again. Here, let's go laugh at him while he calls us pedophiles and talk shit about Israel. Yeah, that sounds reasonable and believable. Why don't you take a screenshot of the page that says 186 viewers with my face in there and send it to me? That'd be proof, wouldn't it? There you go. You can prove it. Or 191 now. Prove it. Pretty simple. You got no problem sending me text messages, so send me a screenshot proving what you say. This will be one of those things that just for some reason doesn't come through. Because I'm funny and intelligent, you sound like a bumbling idiot. You're funny and intelligent, but you're too cowardly to come on here and talk. Like I'm so done talking to this clown. Like, funny and intelligent, you can't even get your yours right most of the time. Like, okay. Again, it's funny and intelligent. I couldn't understand. How could you make me calling you a pedophile and then talking shit about Israel and the Jews and all that? How could you make that funny? That's weird. You know, again, it's like this is that Brian Wallace level stupidity where you just go like, dude, I am so sorry you were born like that. Like, that sucks. Mom shouldn't have done drugs while she was pregnant. But my God, like, dude, my life is your life? What a weird, sad sort of existence that must be. I don't know. I keep trying. I keep trying. These dumb pedophiles. But see, again, it just doesn't make any sense. Other than Israelis trying to keep an eye on things, what is it? Whose life is that awful that 191 people are going to watch somebody else call them a pedophile, because everybody involved would have to be pedophiles. It would be a pedophile network. All of those people? And even still, even if it was like not even one of them breaks from the pack and comes and talks shit. Not one. Really? I don't know what else what other proof I can provide you. You know, it's the same thing as watching the debate. I just don't know how you can watch the debate and
something totally different.
Right. It's so strange. What are you seeing when you watch the debate? What are you seeing when you watch Trump? When you look at Trump and you don't get that feeling from, like, what's happening there? It's shocking. And imagine if Trump wasn't up against some old stuttering, stammering guy who lost his place a couple of times.
He said I only want to play for 30 minutes.
Okay, Nick, he messed up, dude.
No,
Nick, that deal was earlier, right?
What?
That deal was earlier today, right?
Yeah.
And that's and stop. And it's been different literally since then, right?
Yeah, but he took
Okay.
2 hours.
Nick, you gave him 2 hours. You were sitting there watching and enjoying what he was doing.
No, it was not.
Okay, whatever, dude.
I'm giving you 13 minutes. At 6 o'clock, you'll be done.
What are you talking about, Nathan?
He's had almost all day to play, so what I'm saying.
Nathan, no. That's not how it works, and you already know it, right? When the phone changes hands, the time starts. You were playing your game. It's not like you weren't doing your thing.
I told Nick I want to play.
Okay, well, when you want to play and his time is up, then it's your turn.
Yeah, in 13 minutes.
Well, how long has he been playing?
Almost all day. I've only
No. Let's not do that again.
So since 11 o'clock for 2 hours is 3 o'clock. So 2 hours. He's had his 2 hours.
Okay, so Nick, come here, please. So you've been playing for the last 2 hours, right?
Yes, but he.
Okay, so that's that. You've had more than enough time. At 6 o'clock, you get your full 2 hours, then you switch. That's how that works. If he didn't want to play earlier, you got extra time. Says who? Okay, well then you're gonna stick to that. My retarded, like seriously, who says shit like that? I don't even care. Like that, you're just sad because the truth about. I'm just sad of the truth about the canal, and my retarded children. What truth about the canal? You dumb shit. And again, who? You're so desperate for some sort of I'm gonna get you back. Cause see, that's how I know what I say hurts you. Cause you go to this extreme place to try to hurt me back because you think like, I'm sorry, if it is Brian Wallace, then your kids got taken away because you're a pedophile. Right? Like they took your kids away. That's not gonna happen to my kids because there's no pedophiles here. Why don't you kids have their own phones? Because we're not bad parents, you stupid ass. Now I'm a bad parent because my kids don't have a cell phone. And guess what? We limit their use on it too. Oh, we're terrible. We're terrible people. Can you take this for a minute? Can you just talk for a second?
I was going to pee, but
Well, I'm gonna pee first.
butt ahead. Oh. Yes, we don't feel the need to provide an electronic screen as a babysitter for them. And before you start saying, oh, what about video games? They are very limited on their usage time on video games too, because guess what? Kids should go outside and be kids. Kids should be active. Kids should socialize face to face with other humans so they don't lose all social skills like a lot of these fucking little ingrates running around have lost. You can't go, even the late teen, early 20s that are working in the customer service industry, they can't even fucking look at you in the eye when they're talking to you. It's ridiculous, and that's because they have too much screen time and not enough human interaction without a screen and a keyboard in between them. So we're trying to do better by our children by providing a bit of a balance there so that they can go into either world and be successful and have some sort of social graces and the ability to communicate. Yeah, well. I got a friend right now who's in town and grew up with the screens in their faces. And yes, she's a younger friend, of course, but and by younger I mean like 28, grew up with a screen and she's got no fucking social graces. Trying to communicate with her right now and she's just pretty incapable. So we're not trying to cripple our children in that respect.
It's just stupidity on on too many levels. All right. Now they're texting my. See, think about it. So you notice how the one thing they didn't do was text the proof, right? I said take a screenshot of the 191 whatever it is people watching and send it. And no screenshot. Yet they're able to text me multiple times. They can text my wife. This is what trolls do. This is fun. You could be doing anything else in the world and this is your thing? Like this is more of that dumb Jew Israel kind of shit, right? Like it's just this weird personality traits and weird stuff that normal people just don't do. Again, the idea that I'm hurting them so badly that they're desperately trying to hurt me back by saying things about my kids or my wife, shit like that. I'm talking about Israel and the Jews and pedophiles and, things bigger than me. And these guys are obsessed with me. Because that makes sense. Yep, my wife is ugly. Oh, no, Brian Wallace. If a Jew says my wife is ugly, again, okay. Do you think that bothers me? Like, why would I care about what some gross pedophile thinks of my wife? Yeah, my wife is a female with boobs and a vagina. I'm sure you stay the fuck away from that. That's got to be gross to you. But more evidence that they can keep texting me, but they can't text any proof. But ask yourself, like, again, why? Who's going to do this? Who's going to be on the other side of these phones? Really?
I just find the flying accusations hilarious.
Which ones?
All of them. All of their little lovely things.
The
that they
desperate
send,
bullshit they try to send?
It's
all desperate. It's all, you've hurt me, so now I'm trying to hurt you back. And why aren't you being hurt back by what I'm saying? So let me try
It
to...
just makes me laugh. It's hilarious.
Let me try to up the ante here. Okay, well, what if I say this isn't going to bother you? Okay, well, if I say this isn't going to bother you, please, just tell me something's bothering you.
There is very little you can say to me that's going to upset me to the point where you've ruined my day. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Or take it serious.
Or take any of it.
Right.
I wouldn't take it seriously.
How could you take anything seriously from someone too cowardly to acknowledge who they are?
My
Just
grandma always told me to
cowards.
consider the source. No matter what is being said to you, consider the source. And if the source sucks, so does the shit coming out of their mouth.
It's just cowardly shit. It's typical Jew shit. It's like dropping bombs from a plane on civilians and then pretending like you are the victims. Right? Like it's that kind of high level stupidity that it's so see-through and it's like a signature. Like, what happened to your son's enlarged heart? Oh, you mean the thing that the doctors told us might happen, and then when it didn't happen, we said, oh, this isn't a thing anymore? We thought it was something? Thanks for all the support?
Gee, the practice of medicine.
Wow.
Practiced and got it wrong.
What happened to that? Oh, it was wrong, you stupid asses. You know what we did? We took the GoFundMe page that we had set up and we changed it into something that was going to help
somebody else.
Somebody else, yeah. And all the money that did come went to somebody else. But, yeah, you're right. Like, this is, again, I've hurt them, so now it's desperate. Let's try to bring up shit from
years ago.
Let's see. Again, identifying how long.
House fire, I think.
Right.
We switched it to. Remember when her house burned down?
Right. So that was 2017. Right.
I don't even know.
This is how long you have been riding my dick. That you're gonna you acknowledge it. It's like when Brian's dumbass, when Israel's dumbass, came on the Jesse Howe show that I was on, and was like, ask him why he blocked me 6 years ago. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, if I blocked you 6 years ago, why are you here?
Why are you still crying about it?
6 years ago?
Do you cry about, well, they don't have girlfriends, so maybe they would, but do you cry about an ex from 6 years ago?
6 years ago, I blocked you, and you've been playing musical chairs and doing everything you can to watch me for 6 years? Why?
Pathetic. I wouldn't admit that to anybody.
Like, I don't even think I'm that good, right? Like I must be good, but I can't. There's nothing I would. Nothing. Not a single person is worth that. Like it's so fucking crazy. Remember CPS Christmas? That shit was hilarious.
Oh, when CPS was called on us, yeah.
That wasn't Christmas.
Was it? It wasn't at Christmas time. I don't
No.
remember what time of year it was.
No, but again, like this is somebody that's like, you know, doing everything they can to avoid conversation at hand.
And it would be funny, except for what you did was took a counselor away from investigating a child that's
Needed it.
truly in
Right.
danger.
The
You
police
know,
and all that shit. Right.
You took time away from somebody in need, so
Which they
that's
did
really
lots.
pathetic.
You know, they used to send food to the house. The worst ones was when the old people showed up that had
Oh.
driven like 2 hours to pick up the free fridge, and they were both like just crippled and they could barely move, and they were told that we would help them put the free fridge in their ride. They were poor. The $20 in gas it cost to get here was was a lot to them.
Or that one old guy, his mom had a stroke, and she didn't have a fridge, and she didn't tell him she didn't have a fridge, and he found out, and he drove from up north for the free fridge.
Right.
And he fucking sat and cried in front of our house. He had tears. And
You told your kids there was no Santa. You abused him. Yep. So abusive, telling my kid that there's no Santa Claus. Again, does any of you hear this shit? Do any of you hear this? They can't actually talk about what I'm doing. So they're desperately trying to bring up shit from fuck, man, like at least 5-6 years ago. But shit like
Yeah,
telling your kids about Santa Claus, like, yeah, kids cry when you tell them there's no Santa. Yeah, that's when it happens. You would know if you were actually involved with kids other than to violate them. But like this is
unless you continue to lie to them until they finally learn for themselves, and then they're pissed that you've been lying to them the whole time.
right. I mean, it's like this is the level of stupid that I'm talking about. These people are going to bring up all this other shit, but don't deny being pedophiles. But don't provide the proof that 191 people are watching, blah, 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 all that shit. Yet they're gonna, hey, what about this other thing? Remember that time you ate that thing and you didn't like it? Oh, remember that time? Okay, dumbass. And what ended up happening with all of these things that you are bringing up? We won. Your desperate attempts to interfere and whatever it was didn't work.
Hey, maybe you prevented the fire truck from going
To somebody else's house,
to
right?
another fire faster.
You prevented some people from getting their dinner faster. But again, costing restaurants money. Think about this.
That was shitty.
You order $50 worth of food to a restaurant and tell them to go to somebody's house. So then that person's like, nah, I'm not paying for the food. I don't want it. So now the delivery driver is out the delivery, the tip, the gas it took to get here, and then the other delivery that they missed in the process.
That they could have been making and
Right.
made money on. And then the restaurants out that food.
Right.
Some restaurants will let their employees get it, but most of them won't.
But even still, I mean, as the employee, what, you want some old food that was rejected? Still, it's like this is, instead of engaging someone in an intelligent discussion debate, this is what happens.
I mean, the time that they thought that the police came at like midnight because they were told that you were beating my ass on the front lawn, and I'm down at the neighbors because I'm watching the dogs. You know, the time that they were here was like half hour or so.
Imagine what could have happened.
There were so many other places that they would have been more useful.
Right. I just got, you are still poor. You're right. We are still poor, right? Because we're not living high up on the hog and
Oh no, we
taking
were rich
advantage.
from all the GoFundMe's, I thought.
Right. All those
Come
GoFundMe's
on.
and right,
We
like
do this and get
everything.
money.
See, and the problem is the people that are watching this video, you
You haven't been here, so you don't know the.
well, and you don't know that these are the text messages that are coming through. These I've gotten 100 text messages since I've been live. Show me the other person that this happens to. I'm open to it.
Oh, when I tell people the story,
They don't believe
dumbfounded.
you.
They don't.
They think you're exaggerating because nobody else gets it. So if nobody else gets it, what am I doing that makes me so damn special? You know, it's all
It's
right
your
there.
hair. It's your hair or your face fur.
It's all right there in front of you. Anybody that's watching, it's because I'm telling the truth. I'm talking about the thing that they don't want talked about. My viewers can see my text. I'm sure they can. What?
You count me and you started, it got lost.
Okay, that's okay. We'll do that. So now, somehow this person's viewers can see their text while they're rebroadcasting my video, and the 191 people that are watching or whatever that they won't take a picture and prove it. Like, do you even understand how stupid that is? That's like saying anybody watching this could see the notifications that keep coming up. How would you be able to see the notifications?
Unless they keep taking screenshots and posting it under their own comments. I don't know.
It's just dumb. It's what desperation looks like. Jesus.
That's a lie.
I know. That's what desperation looks like. This is what happens when this is why, like I say, when you watch any of these Anomaly or any of those people, ask yourself why they don't get it. Ask yourself why, ask yourself or ask anybody you know if they were watching a video and they were commenting and somebody called them a pedophile. Would they deny it? Would they keep watching that video? Would they follow? Would they stalk? What would they do? Would they be like, "What? Fuck you, I'm not a pedophile," and then leave? Isn't that what you would do? Not these guys. Because I'm wrong, right? Because I'm wrong. And all of this comes from me saying we should probably kill pedophiles. We should stop giving Israel money, $3.8 billion a year that turns into 15 billion shekels a year. We should stop giving Israel money and use that money to kill pedophiles. Do you know anybody that's going to be bothered by that?
Did they give you money off the last pizza?
Do you know anybody else that that's how it works? You know why they don't comment on here? So you guys can't know who they are. It's really simple.
So they don't have to be held accountable.
Right.
They
You
don't
could
get
call them
reported.
612-429-9379. You could report. You could call them.
Is that the same number? 612-429-9379. Yeah, that's who texted me last.
Right. Like, do you just It's so fucking stupid. Yeah. Now they're texting some dumb math that doesn't make any sense. I'm not even bothering. Just think about it. How many of you are watching a feed like you've seen before right now? You've seen somebody else doing this and then being, you know, cowards are trying to interfere and yet do nothing, can't do anything to prove what they say. Like it's all just, it's right there. It's right there for you to see it. Sending ambulances and just all kinds of crap. Can you imagine somebody is important?
Or the poor guys, they did that twice where they sent ABC Transportation or whatever, a Metro car to come pick me up to take me to the airport for my flight that I didn't even know I had. Those guys lost a ton of money. A ton of money.
3.8 billion divided by 7 blah. Yeah, except it's $15 billion, right? It's 15 billion shekels. Their money, it's 15. Yes, we pay their bills. Israelis get checks just for being Israeli. It's what it is. And you mean we pay your bills because we know you're a dumb Jew. Right? You're a disgusting pedophile Jew. Just like the Talmud says you should be. I I don't know what else to, like, how else to prove this to people. I don't know. Like, I've never seen a video or a feed like this. So I can't say, like, how, like what I would do if I was watching a video like this and how I would respond to it. I don't know. I would assume I would be like, what? I would ask questions. Why would a coward watch but not comment, but then want to text? I mean, it's all right there. It's all right there for you to see it. It's just, do you want to see it? I mean, you've been shown you've been shown how impossibly stupid your religion is for a long time and you still believe it. Wait. Cigarettes are 30 shekels, idiot. Right. So how do you know how much cigarettes cost in Israel? It's a weird thing for you to just happen to know off the top of your head. The Ben Gurion Canal. Again, it's not in the news. So it's either, high-level Americans watching or high-level Israelis watching. If, in fact, tomorrow there's a big story about the Ben Gurion Canal. It's definitely not just some doofus, Brian Wallace, or, the whole list of pedophiles is Brian Wallace and what's his name? Robin Leach, and I haven't done it in such a long time because they're so far removed, and Bitch Beard. What the fuck is Bitch Beard? I've forgotten all their names. D. Diddlers and Chad Ham and James Napier. That's it, James Napier. You know the guy? He goes by Freedom Beard, his Bitch Beard. You know that guy. He's a truther that's allowed to exist. This is a guy who's a body remover, right? He turns people into jerky. Oh, yep. Will and Christine Bowman, forgot about those cowards. This is all pedophile. See, now, addressing the pedophile comments, yet not denying the pedophile comment. Interesting. Interesting. That's something you would do, right? All I ever want you to do is look at it how you would look at it. Explain it how you would see it. Would you do all this? Do you do this? Are there people that have blocked you that you say you hate that you then basically live for? You have nothing else in your life, so you live for them? Is that how that works? Is there anybody out there like that? And are you dumb enough to constantly out yourself? Right? Like, are you dumb enough to constantly prove that you are, in fact, a pedophile or whatever that you're saying? None of it makes sense if you believe, you know, it's all just conspiracy or whatever. But as soon as you just start putting the pieces together, you know, one of the things the system does is it convinces you that the narrative, the thing that we're up against, is some huge complicated thing. And the truth is, it's not. It's not nearly as complicated as they want you to believe it is. You know, if you think it's complicated, then when you see the holes in it and stuff, you go, oh well, you know, it's probably more complicated than I think it is. So that I'm seeing the holes, but I must be wrong. But that's not it. The people watching, you're a fantastic truth barometer. You know when you're being lied to. Very, very few people are ripped off and are completely surprised by it. I had no idea this person was going to do this. Like even Jeremy, right? Like, you know, Jeremy was on here for a long time. He was a part of this. I never trusted Jeremy. Never. It was nice to have someone to talk to about cards and shit. But when it was all happening, like, I never told Jeremy anything. I wouldn't be comfortable with it being out, and I don't really know anything like that would exist. But still, like you know, when it came to like my wife talking about, oh, I was gonna see if you book you a trip to go hang out with Jeremy for a week, and I was like, no, not happening. You know, when they would claim that they were coming here and shit, no, they're not coming. Like, it's all fake. I knew it was fake. I knew Jeremy was a fake piece of shit the whole time. I wasn't even bothered when he wasn't there anymore. Oh man, if Christine Bowman is truly dead, that's great. That is great. A pedophile whore is no longer alive. That's a fantastic thing. And they tried to say the same thing about Brian. Brian Wallace killed himself yesterday. Man, that would be fantastic. Really. These are sick, sick people. And the less sick people that exist in this fucking world, the better. It's strange how we all pretend like that's, like I'm saying something so, I can't believe he said that. That's how you feel. You all feel that way. You all know that if given control, okay, you're now in control. What do we do with pedophiles? What do we do with people that fuck with children? Every single one of you would say kill them. Every single one of you would think to kill them. Not these guys. You know, our system is controlled by Jews, and it only makes sense if you look at it that way. When you look at why so many decisions are made, while the U.S. is claiming that they are that you know we're going to have to do another shutdown and And, you know, we're going to have to, the whole thing where they furlough the government employees, blah, 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 blah. They're threatening this government shutdown while pushing through $16 billion to be sent to Israel. Like, it's all right there. I'm not talking about anything that you can't find out for yourself. Every single thing I talk about is easily right there. Right there. Right there. Todd Church, that piece of shit. That guy in 2009 was caught manufacturing and distributing methamphetamines in Ohio. And his trailer happened to be within, like, its location happened to touch 4 separate school districts. So each school district is like an extra felony. So if you get busted manufacturing and distributing, that's one charge. But then there's manufacturing and distributing in a school zone times 4. This guy, it was such a big thing that there was a news story about it. You know, the news actually did a fucking story about this guy that got busted with this huge distribution trailer. That's somebody that's going to prison for fucking life. How that works. Well, maybe not life, but a long time. Somehow this guy spent 0 time in jail, then was allowed to become something on Facebook. He was allowed to have an audience on Facebook. When you're really in this and you see how this shit works, how difficult it is when you're actually telling the truth to be allowed to be heard, like you wouldn't believe what you're shown. And it's a level of stupidity and desperation that we should be embarrassed to be tricked by or to be duped by. You know, because they don't do a good job. They don't try hard. They try hard, but it's like they were given a playbook and they're only capable of going from that playbook. And because they've run the course, they've done all the plays so many times that they have to keep redoing them now. It's that lack of intelligence that's going to be the downfall, because when you're seeing it now. This is another thing about the system. Another way they dupe us is to keep us focused on the past. You know, everybody wants to argue about the past. Everybody wants to talk about what happened thousands of years ago, supposedly religious wise, or I mean, even the creation story is this, this millions of years, blah 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 blah. Tartaria, the whole Tartaria distraction is shocking to me. You know, I've been fucking nose deep in the conspiracy world, and it's been, I haven't seen the Tartaria stuff until very recently. We make money, you don't, right? You're working. You're proving my point. First of all, I don't know how I would have a place to live if I didn't make money. But secondly, you're trolling my page. Your whole thing, while most people, not today obviously, but at most other times, while most people are working, doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter when I go live. Doesn't matter what day, doesn't matter what time, you're here. So clearly your job is to be here. Of course you're getting paid. And they've gone through several different versions of it because so many of you suck at this so bad. But again, the whole thing about the system is to try to get you to not focus on what's happening right now. It's really crazy. Like when you think about it and you talk to most people are talking to you about, like, especially the Tartaria stuff. This thing that happened before any of us could prove it. You know, there's a ton of evidence. There's a really interesting story there, and it's fascinating, really, and it's because it's true. It's like this constant source of validation. You're constantly revalidating yourself when you look into Tartaria, which is a great distraction. This is why this distraction works so well. But instead of talking about the fact that there's literally a genocide happening right now, and that, you know, the answers to Tartaria, the answers to religion and whatever thing you're distracted by, it's all associated with the Jews. If you want the answers that you seek, then we have to overthrow the Jews. It doesn't matter. So by rescuing the Palestinians, we're opening the door to the truth that we're all looking for. You know, it's the people that are it's what they're trying to distract you from. And when you look at literally what's happening right now, like, this is the most amazing time really ever to be alive. You know, we have, for the first time in United States history, you have the, crazy as it is, the students that go to all of the most prestigious schools and the lower level schools, but the most prestigious schools, meaning the children of the elite, the children of the people that pull the strings, the doctors, the lawyers, the high power people that can afford to send their kids to Harvard, because I'm not doing that shit. The same sorry, hang on a second. The same shit the same people that pull up, you know, again, that can afford to send their kids to the schools. You have to figure out who that, like, the students that I love how we've been taught our whole lives that Generation Z is the worst generation. They're the worst. They're the most do-nothing generation. And these are the first ones to stand up to Israel. And it's a form of unity sort of unseen before, because it's the students at the richest, most prestigious schools, all the way down to, you know, the smaller schools. They're all stepping up in a unified voice, opposing. Well, it's funny how, you know, the original protesting is sort of opposing Israel and namely the genocide, right? But if we're not, if the students are talking about stop the genocide, the 38,000 people have been killed so far, mostly women and children. But then you have the dumb Jews, the Rappaports and the Seinfelds and the John Lovitzes of the world that are openly making these protests about Jews. You know, they're the ones that are identifying as the terrorists. They're the ones that are saying there's no difference between the people committing the genocide and the Jews here. And since you're not seeing an overwhelming or any support from the Jewish community for these protests that again are against genocide. Those protests weren't against Jews. They just made it. They made it that way. They're so stupid. They do. I've been telling you this that they do this for years. When the when the ICC, the international courts, or the Hague and whatever, says that they want to do an open book investigation into the Israeli occupation, because it was supposed to be a temporary occupation, but it's seemingly turned into colonization. And when they said that, it's not like the Jews in Israel were like, oh yeah, well, we welcome it. We're going to open our books to you. You come through. You'll see that what we're doing is right. What we're doing is good and justified and a good thing. Because that's if that's what you're doing, that's what you say. Like, that's me. I encourage you to ask any questions you need answered. I'll do my best. I'm not hiding from anything. I don't think you can demonize me. I don't think you can look into my past and find a bunch of stuff that makes me look bad. You know, that's the difference. When Israel is telling you that if you open the books, it's going to demonize Israel, they're telling the truth. If the books are open and people start looking at the occupation and trying to prove whether or not it's a colonization, it's going to be a short day. And that's you know, this new sort of thing that they do where they kind of tell you the truth, not the whole truth, but they tell you a truth. And it's that truth that you know, depending on how it's given to you, like it'll usually do enough to quell whatever you're asking until you actually stop and think about it. You know, when the Ken O'Keefe people made our song, pinned our song to the top of their page, the Samson option to the top of their page, because I started asking where the fuck Ken O'Keefe was, and I had information from Rudy Maxa and Samantha Bachman were feeding me information on secret phone calls. And they knew something was up, so they tried to stop me. They tried to bribe me, stroke my ego into me shutting up. It worked for a day. And it wasn't until I started thinking about it and saying, wait a minute, did that answer my question? Or did that just sort of back me off? And that's what most truth is nowadays. When they say, do vaccines cause autism, and the government says no, they're telling the truth. Vaccines do not cause autism. They cause vaccine damage, but they don't cause autism. It's that kind of I don't even know what you call it. It's not double talk. It's like single talk, you know. It's the same thing as when these Jews are running around screaming everything is anti-Semitism. These protests are anti-Semitism and anti-Jewish. Well, don't they, as far as most people are concerned, don't they mean the same thing? And as soon as you start like reading between the lines and you go, wait, if they mean the same thing, then either they're fans of being redundant, which they are. But why do they always refer to it as anti-Semitism instead of anti-Jewish? Which is what they imply, but they don't say it. And it's really simple, because the Semitism is a word. You've never, so many of you, unless you're a longtime watcher, but so many of you don't realize that. When you hear that phrase, anti-Semitism, you're hearing two words stuck together that were hyphenated. This word, this phrase, whatever you want to call it, was a hyphenated word. It was ANTI-SEMITISM for well over 100 years. From its inception, that's how it was initially, supposedly, in the 1880s, when it first sort of appeared. It appeared as a revolution, as a rallying cry. They were anti-Semitism because Semitism was being pushed everywhere. And what Semitism is the practice or predisposition of showing Jews favor. It's supremacy. That's a nice way of saying supremacy. Why would these disgusting little trolls get favor for anything? Unless you were like trying to find, people to live under a bridge, why would they deserve favor? This is so important that people understand this, because this is what's happening right now. It's not what's happening 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. And so for well over 100 years, until 2021, it was spelled the same way. It's like that in all of the literature. It's everywhere. And to change it in any way would be a pretty significant undertaking. And I mean, I don't know the extent of what the computer spell check editing software bots can do, but if all of the language and explanation that exists online spells it ANTI-SEMITISM, to change that, I would assume, is a significant undertaking. But in 2021, years now after, because I'm the only person I've ever heard talk about the definition of Semitism. I'm sure there are other people that do it, but if they do, I'm sure they are just as censored. And so it probably took a minute or two before my efforts were getting to the people that needed to hear them, I guess. But in 2021, they got together and decided that because they didn't want us thinking that anti-Semitism was opposing a force, was opposing something called Semitism, because they want to just pretend like Semitism isn't a word, they changed the spelling. Instead of it being capital SEMITISM, like it was for the last 141 years, 140 something years, we'll say. Because it could 130 something, it could be, because I can't remember exactly what year in the 1880s it was, but 1886 maybe, I don't know. But they decided that after all this time, anti-Semitism needed to be changed. So whatever, again, that's a pretty significant undertaking, but they changed it from the ANTI-SEMITISM to ANTI-SEMITISM. No hyphen, no capital. That is psychological warfare. What else would you call it? They said that they were doing it so we didn't know better. So people didn't know that there was something called Semitism that anti-Semitism opposes. Think, how many other words can you think of that's something that's happened? Can you tell me another one? Can you tell me another word, phrase, whatever, that was spelled one way since its inception and was recently changed to prevent people from thinking a certain way? That's wild shit. And I encourage you to prove me wrong. Go look up anti-Semitism. Go look the whole thing up. It actually was like, I think it went to Congress. I think it was like a congressional issue. Maybe, I could be wrong on that, but it was absolutely all true. So in 2021, they changed the spelling of anti-Semitism, all while this COVID bullshit, absolute bullshit, not real bullshit, is happening. And they are training the goyim to hate each other. Again, to prevent any sort of unification. People are still walking around with fucking masks on. It's 2024. People are still in masks. Slowly killing themselves. Breathing in their own carbon dioxide over and over again, if in fact that's what's happening. I fucking don't know. How many of you can prove that trees produce oxygen? You ever seen a tree producing oxygen? If trees produce oxygen, shouldn't carbon dioxide be a good thing? Why is carbon dioxide always the worst thing for the trees that produce oxygen? That feed off of oxygen, or off of carbon dioxide. You know, these things are all fascinating, but as soon as I start thinking about them, it's like there's an alarm in my head that goes off. Ding, 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 ding. Hey, you're being distracted. You're always being distracted. There are all these different rabbit holes for you to go down, so you're not focusing on them. I got rewarded. When I went down the Tartaria rabbit hole, and for like a couple of weeks I'd been talking pretty much about Tartaria, and I stopped reading Israeli news as much, and you know, I was focused on this. I got rewarded. That was the last time my Facebook feed was allowed to get 20,000 views in by the time the video was over. So however many video views it got after the fact, that's a whole different story. But there's something about me getting 20,000 views that triggers it, and they usually shut it down. That's when the block kicks in. But you know, for the days prior to, I went from 8,000 views when it ended, 12,000 views by the next day, to 15,000. The next day was 15,000 views when it ended, and 18,000 by the following day. The following day, it was somewhere at around 20,000 when it got blocked, when it got shut down. If you're watching, like the video, share the video. I mean, we have 10 watchers. I'm sure 10 of them aren't the people. Like if you're the 191 that are watching from the other channel, say something. Tell me what I'm wrong about. If you're not, engage the conversation. You tell me what I'm wrong about yourself. Anybody. I'm not the guy that wants to be pat on the back. I'm not the guy that wants people to come on here and, you know, don't disagree with me. I'm not Madison Star Moon. I will block you because you disagree with me. No, I want you to. I appreciate the people that agree with me, and I appreciate likes, and I appreciate all that shit. But that's not what's interesting. What's interesting is the debate. So if there's a Trump supporter, if there's an Israel supporter, if there's a God believer, if there's a round earth believer, which there's 8 people here, at least one of the people watching are one of those things, then let's talk about it. What part do you believe in? What thing do you... I bet you still believe all of them. I can't figure out... When it comes to pretty much all of those things, the real question is, why do you believe what you do believe? Why do you support Trump? Why do you believe Christianity or whatever, Islam, whatever bullshit? I believe in the gay. Okay, I believe in the gays too. But like, you know, why does anybody have a problem with gay stuff? I get it, watching 2 dudes kiss is kind of gross, but is watching a dude and his girlfriend kiss any better? Are you somebody that likes to sit there and watch other people make out? When you're watching porn, do you watch all the do you like watch the sensual makeout sessions and shit, or do you just skip to the good parts? Like I just don't understand it. I really don't understand why anybody believes anything that they're not willing to stand up for. All you America first believers, I'm America, blah blah. Come on now, let's talk about that. Whatever. I want to hear what people think. I know what I think, though. I've had multiple revelations doing this that I wouldn't have had if I was just thinking about it. Saying things out loud and doing this thing where you're held accountable for what you say and all that. That's a where you could be held accountable for what you say. That's a powerful thing for you personally. Once you realize like you don't have anything that you're embarrassed of. You don't have anything that somebody could bring up and it would be like, oh man, let's not talk about that. That's an empowering feeling. I don't think anything's off limits. I'll talk about whatever. I don't get it. I don't get why, especially as adults, if we're adults. And I had to tell YouTube that this video was not for kids. I did know this is not a video made for kids. I think it is. I think everybody should have their kids watch videos like this. I don't see what is wrong. Somebody is saying things that is controversial. Whether what I'm saying is true or not, it gives you the opportunity, if I'm wrong, and it gives you the opportunity to find out how your kid thinks and, engage them on it. If your kid watches my video and says, Mom, Dad, is he right about this or is he right about that? That gives you a really great opportunity to engage them. And what do you think? I swear, man, the older I get, I always heard that the older you get, the more likely you are to sort of go towards religion. The more you realize your mortality and your limitations and all that, you start to gravitate towards religion. And I don't, man. I think religion is fucking nuts. I think the whole concept of God and just it's not a God I want to believe in. It's an asshole. It's a thing that allows children to be violated, and then the people down go, well, that's free will. That's free will. Yeah, well, free will, I guess, is one thing when it's you doing it to yourself. But when it's you violating someone else's free will who can't do anything about it, how does God, who, God is everywhere at all times. So all those really nasty views that you get when you're watching porn, the close-up, yeah, God has that view of the kids getting raped by the clergy and doesn't have an issue, I guess. As a matter of fact, rewards them with being one of the most powerful organizations in the world. If I was in charge of things and I could delegate where money was spent and where investigate, like I would take a lot of money away from the war on drugs and put it into the war on pedos. Who wouldn't do that? I would want the churches completely investigated. The issue is, there was that thing that happened in like 17 where it came out that in Pennsylvania, 6 of the 8 dioceses in Pennsylvania were just riddled with pedophilia, and it had just been all covered up, and the priests and shit were getting moved around the country. It was all covered up and manipulated by the church, which, when Benedict stepped down, Benedict was the first pope in 600 years to step down or some shit. And he didn't step down, he just became the black pope, so he was the behind the scenes, more powerful pope. I'm not really sure. Starts getting into shit where, again, you can't really know unless we overthrow the system. but but the reason that like Benedict is stepping down and everybody's talking about what an insane thing it is and how it's never happened before and blah blah, but nobody's saying why. And what's going on? Okay. The real reason. Are you having fun, Rosie? Okay, so wait.
And look in the shop because there's always a.
Rosie, are you having fun with it or is he bugging you? Okay, so listen. You hear that, right?
Yes. Go up.
It's really important that when somebody is bothered and tells you to stop, that you stop, okay? Shit. Forgot what I was saying. Forgot what I was saying.
In a marriage, it is normal to want something
You know, we can't be embarrassed. Like, there's nothing for you to be embarrassed of. If you're fucking, you know, you like fucking feet and shit like that, well, that's you. That's your thing. Okay, it's not my thing. It's kind of gross, but it's your thing. And you shouldn't be embarrassed by it, because I think it's gross. Oh, yeah. Speaking of gross. So, Benedict, when this whole thing went down, it came out that prior to being Pope, Benedict was the guy that was in charge of Protocol 261 or whatever it's called. You know, I don't know the name, but every time a priest is involved in some sort of scandal, Protocol 261, blah, 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 whatever it is initiated. And Benedict was the guy that was in charge of that whole thing. He was the guy that was, you know, the high power manipulator that would speak to whatever you know, official needed or you know, just he was the guy that supervised what went down when there were scandals and they needed cover-ups and all that shit. And that story started to come out, which is why he stepped down. And they distracted us. Not only they've learned their lesson in the past and they pay attention. So they you know, they realized that like the tide was changing and the people were like, hey, you know, why is the church so opulent when they're supposed to be, you know, so humble and modest and all that shit? And you know, the church's covered in a lot of gold and they sure do make a lot of money and blah 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 blah. And it was like, oh shit, okay, hey, new pope is this poor guy. Look, he drives a Focus. He drives a Focus. He doesn't drive a big car. He drives a Focus. And everybody was like, oh shit, he drives a Focus. Then yeah, fuck, the church is cool again. Let's just not even pay attention to what just happened first time, fucking shocker, like crazy shit, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is how the system works. And if I'm put in charge, immediately, I'm going after that shit. And so, like in Pennsylvania, that's what I was talking about. In Pennsylvania, they had the 6 of 8 dioceses were just riddled. And they found out that they were just sending these guys, they would get caught in Pennsylvania, and they would just send them to, you know, all over the country. And then they get caught again. And if they got sent somewhere else, that's one thing, but, you know, it's by your second or third catch that they then send you to the Vatican. So there's no extradition treaty. And basically, like, our system goes, well, you know, since there's no extradition treaty, we're going to leave it up to you, Popey. You go ahead and handle the sentence. And there was this big, like, so the government had done this expose, this investigation. uh, looking at the church between 2003 and 2013, I believe. And they weren't able to get the church on like the pedophile charges, but they were able to get him on like the child endangerment. It was something, some weird wording. Again, this is a while ago. I don't remember it like I should, but you know, it's you'll get the gist of it. But they found out that over the 10-year period, you know, over the 3,650 days or whatever it was, that the church had there had been at least that many, that 3,600, at least 3,000 something reported cases that led to a somebody being, maybe it's 2,500, I don't know. My numbers are off, I'm sure. But it worked out to be that the church was found to have had credible reports and then done something, transferred the person somewhere, demoted them or whatever it was. And then on top of that, there was the ones that had been fired. So it was like, it worked out to be like 2.5 per day or something like that over a 10-year period that the church had just been covering up or moving around. And these are just the reported cases. And so a bunch of these priests actually did sort of get in trouble, sort of. But they were all in the Vatican. And when the decision came through, it was one of the new Pope's first things to do. It was definitely his first. This is why Benedict stepped down, because this whole thing was brewing. He had this opportunity to be like, look, I'm the new Pope. This shit's not going to fly in my house, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to send them back to the United States and they can deal with the consequences for their actions and yes, blah, blah. He had the opportunity to do that. And instead, he was going to pardon them all and have them all live out the rest of their lives in the Vatican in penance. So they were supposed to live this life of prayer for the rest of their life as punishment for violating children and whatnot. And it's like, there are all sorts of crazy stories that exist around the Vatican at nighttime. The Vatican, the country in the middle of Rome, it's its own little country, like Washington, D.C. is its own country. The UK is its own country. The United Kingdom is its own little spiel thing. But not like officially, but officially. Fuck, I forgot what I was going to say right there. Anyway, the stories that exist about what goes on in the Vatican at nighttime are just horrendous. You know, it's like we have to start looking into these things. You know, I think, I don't have a phone, but the multi-million people that go missing every year, that just disappear, never heard from again. I would imagine a lot of them end up in the Vatican, in slavery positions. And if I'm wrong, well, then let's find out. You know, I don't you think it's strange that there hasn't been any sort of investigation into October 7th? That a literal genocide has taken place because of the claims of what happened on October 7th. And dumbass Guy Williams in Redford, Michigan, fucking sitting here on YouTube acting like I know something. My dumbass can see that what was presented to us on October 7th is not accurate. I stand by the fact that no Israelis were killed on October 7th. Maybe a couple, I don't know. And that no Israelis were really taken hostage on October 7th. And I believe I can prove it. You know, and it involves a bit of an investigation. It involves having followed the story since prior to October 7th, but most of you can't say that. But October 7th was an Israeli operation, a false flag on the highest levels. And they're so bad about it. They're so arrogant that they don't care. But they don't have to care because they control the media, and you'll listen to what the media says. Never mind what they're showing you. What they say, what they say suffices. It suffices, and it's a Jew-run media, an Israeli Jew-run media telling you to believe that the Jews are the victims, and I mean, it's just shocking. But you have to go back. I mean, this narrative goes back decades and decades for sure. But the right now, the genocide and everything that's happening right now, it's you can basically trace it back to the Trump presidency and how they just, like, whatever steps they had been taking, they were like, all right, now is the time, we're going to get us to this, we're going to make this thing happen. And it starts with, like, I'm not somebody that believes Kobe died. I'm sorry, that whole story stinks to high fucking hell. But Kobe died on Sunday. Maybe it's Saturday, I don't know. Sunday, pretty sure Sunday. Which meant the news only talked about Kobe on Monday and Tuesday. On Wednesday, Trump was supposed to be the one of his things, maybe it was an impeachment thing, or one of the things was supposed to be ending at that time. So on Wednesday, that was the news day was going to be focused around Trump. And on Monday and Tuesday, they were all about Kobe dying. What happened on Tuesday that I only know about because I happened to watch the 700 Club every day at the time, and watched as the 700 Club is, this Christian station that, Pat Robertson, he pretended to like the Jews a lot more than I think he did. But, like, again, how stupid do you have to be to call me? What kind of stupid is that? Pat Robertson just didn't like the Jews. I mean, he would fake it well, and he probably had to because of the politics involved with being on TV. But on that Tuesday, Trump signed legislation saying that all colleges and universities had to be pro-Israel and had to remove any, you see that?
What happened? Jordan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he going to stop by? Is he about to come by? He just left her house. Or is he walking across the street?
I don't know.
Well, you're going to have to answer
Saw
that.
me walk.
You're going to have to
I think
answer.
so.
You're going to have to answer the door.
That Tuesday.
What?
You were saying.
Yeah. So, thank you. So, Trump signed into legislation that the anti-BDS on college campuses and universities bill, saying that any colleges and universities that don't actively remove BDS or anti-Israel anything and promote a pro-Israel curriculum and like state of mind we're at the risk of losing federal funding, which is basically the, at least half of what how most schools can operate. So you see this tremendous shift, and you see Netanyahu talking about how Trump is the greatest friend that Israel and the Israeli people have ever known. Trump is somehow the president of the United States can sign legislation that takes a large swath of Syrian land and makes it Israeli. Like, the Golan Heights was a part of Syria, about the size of New Jersey and shit. Big fucking place. And Trump, the president of the United States signs legislation that makes that property now belong to Israel in recognition, Trump, thank you, that that the United States now recognizes this as Israeli property, and anybody that has a problem with it has to deal with us. That's fucking happening under Trump's watch. Trump is just funneling money into Israel, and military aid and all this other shit. Like Trump says over and over again, if he was president, it never would have happened. Iran was hit with unnecessary, ridiculous restrictions. Like this idea that can anybody tell me what Iran has done? Can anybody tell me about something bad, terroristic Iran has done in any time recently? Whenever you talk about Iran, you're talking about stories where Israel says Iran did this, Iran denies it, but Israel says it, so it's what it is. But Trump is a Netanyahu dick rider worse than these trolls are with me. And then Epstein, the whole Epstein thing is happening as well. And what most people don't realize is that Epstein was an Israeli operative. He was a high-level Israeli operative. His whole gig was to seduce powerful people into compromising positions, get them on camera in his spy house, and then Israel has leverage over all of these people. Whether they're cheating with boys or girls or kids or whatever, it's all on video. The whole Epstein story, where's the investigation? Speaking of no investigations, where's the big investigation, governmental investigation into the Epstein conspiracy? Where's the Hollywood? Hollywood hasn't made a movie about it. There's not a single official sort of anything. Officially, Jew, William Barr, the what was he, the Secretary of State? I don't remember. Whatever it is. There's all these made up positions to give Jews these powerful situations where they don't do anything. They just have this powerful position.
And a fat salary.
Right. They get prestige and a fat salary and a pension and all this, so
endorsements,
they put
whatever.
They put in a few years, and then they get the rest of their lives are paid for well.
And then they get somebody to write a book about their life, and then they get more money.
Mm-hmm. But William Barr, like, again, this is something that I never hear any of the Epstein people talk about. And I know it because I read it. I looked it up, and it was on the Wikipedia or something. It was on something. But William Barr's father was the headmaster of the prestigious Dalton Academy when Epstein without the proper college credits, was given the position of math professor over all of these teenagers. And there was all these bad reports and whatnot. And I think it's 2 years later he's out. But one of the last things, if not the last thing, that William Barr's father did with his position of power is put Epstein as the math professor, and then he quits and he goes into the private sector and he gets paid really well and he lives a great life and he dies. So he put Epstein in the position of teacher, the creepy young, he's got to be in his early 20s, very early 20s, unqualified Jew is now in charge of teaching a bunch of, younger students, teenage students. And it's Epstein. I mean, it's Epstein with his egg-shaped penis. To think that William Barr, Secretary of State William Barr, doesn't have a conflict of interest when it comes to whether he decides whether there should be an investigation into the Epstein death or not. That's really hard to justify. Why nobody thought he should recuse himself? Nobody was like, yeah, dude, your dad, you clearly knew the guy. You clearly knew the guy since you guys were young, and somehow he convinced your dad to give him that position.
These idiots are so desperate. They're texting me from other numbers now too.
Right. This is how you know when I start hitting the nail on the head, when they start really getting upset and start really desperately texting, trying to distract, because they don't want me talking about what I'm talking about.
Hilarious.
But Epstein.
What
Okay.
kind of fucking
Ghislaine
name is that?
It's Ghislaine. But Ghislaine Maxwell, because it doesn't mean jizz in the language.
No, I get that, but even still.
But she was, Robert Maxwell was was a media mogul in Britain. And he was kind of like an Epstein character, right? Like he nobody really could figure out where he came from. The story was, there we go. Wow, they're actually shutting my feed down. This is crazy. Guess they don't want us talking about this. But Robert Maxwell was supposedly so poor that him and his sister had to share a pair of shoes. How does anyone share a pair of shoes? How do you go somewhere in a shared pair of shoes?
Wednesday and Friday. Or I get them Tuesday.
That's how that works? Like, do you realize how stupid that is? But apparently Robert Maxwell grew up in the Jewish ghettos, and his whole family, every single member of his family but him, was killed in the Holocaust. And
That's the first time I've ever heard that term, Jewish ghettos.
Right. You haven't heard that?
Do they exist?
No, that's what they used to for the place. That's where the Jews were regulated to in the late 1800s, early 1900s. From any of his stories by talking to any of his family members, it just worked out that they all died in the Holocaust. And somehow he didn't, as a young boy, and survived the Holocaust, and then yada yada became a media mogul. Because that's how that happens, right? They always say that story that they were like, they come from this super poor family, and they worked really, really hard to get to this position that nobody else was able to achieve, but somehow in this undocumented way, they worked really, really hard, and
in an industry where you have to have connections.
Right. But he became a media mogul, like big time, like owned the one of the biggest newspapers in Britain, and he passed himself off as a British citizen, and his whole family, they were British, and blah 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 blah. He was worth around $500 million at least at the time of his death in the 80s. And he died under mysterious circumstances. He went out one night on his yacht and yada yada. I can't remember what it is, but he was found the next day naked in the water. He died. But this British citizen, worth $500 million back in the 80s, who was this Jewish kid who became a media mogul somehow. He had run afoul with the media and with the people, and like prior to his death, he was sort of this pariah because he had gotten in a bunch of shit. When he died, he was given the highest ranking Israeli military funeral somebody can give. Israeli
British citizen? That's really weird.
Israeli prime ministers, multiple Israeli prime ministers and presidents and shit came to the funeral. They had the whole it was a whole military like celebration. The highest ranking funeral, like when a brigadier general, blah blah, or even a president or prime minister, they get that level of funeral when they die. This tarnished British media mogul was somehow given this Israeli funeral. And so his daughter ends up with Epstein, who had a fortune of around $500 million that nobody could really figure out where it came from. But he'd gotten in trouble in 2009 or whatever it was. And the now, like again, if I wish I had all my people, right? It's been a minute since I've done this, but the attorney that was the Florida attorney that was in charge of his whole spiel, his whole getting in trouble thing, was a guy who he's either one of the guys that got killed shortly after, or one of the guys that was given a much more powerful position with the Trump, and then ended up going to jail during the COVID thing, where he was then let out because of COVID. Remember, all those Trump guys got sent to jail, but then got let out because COVID. And then when COVID was over,
They didn't have to go back.
they weren't put back in. Right. Weird how that works. I think that's Comey. That might be Comey. I can't remember. But he was saying at the time that people above his pay grade told him to give Epstein the sentence that he got, which was, it was like he should have still been in prison when he died. He should have been in prison for the rest of his life for what he was charged with the first time, trafficking, human trafficking and shit like that. But he was given like this.
That shouldn't even. You get caught human trafficking, you need to die.
Right. But he was given this sentence that he was supposed to. He was supposed to be monitored, and he was supposed to sleep. He was allowed to leave the prison every day from like 6 a.m. till, for 12 or 14 hours. And then he was supposed to come back and sleep in the prison, but he almost never did. He was given this sentence, and then he was just it was just absolute bullshit.
Well, Trump gets found guilty.
34 counts of felonies.
So then they just make a law that presidents don't have to go to jail.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, I know that's not exactly the
Right,
law.
that's not exactly the wordage, but that's it. That they can't be held accountable, or that they're immune. That's what it was. Presidents have immunity or some
Diplomatic immunity for all intents and purposes in their own country. So, what if they're found, guilty of treason, like he was?
He's immune, I guess. I mean, if you give somebody that power, what does that even do? Can you imagine if they just gave random people that you're just immune from prosecution? You can do whatever you want. Well, not immune from prosecution, immune from serving the punishment.
Especially with somebody that already has a track record of 34 fucking counts that he's found guilty of.
Felonies. Yeah.
Like, you're already found guilty. You shouldn't be allowed to have immunity to anything because look at what you're capable of.
All right. Well, but so Epstein, you know, he serves his little bid, but doesn't. And then he's gifted this property, this $12 million property or whatever it was in New York. This badass penthouse he's just gifted by Wexford, the Wexford, whatever his first name, Wexford, of Europe, like the richest, one of these super $460 million people in Europe. I don't remember all the particulars. I'm sorry. You can easily look it up. I'm just giving you the basic pieces. So Epstein happens. And this is 2019, right? So it's interesting to go back to 2019 because 2019 started with them telling us that we should be focused on Michael Jackson. Remember, we were all supposed to think Michael Jackson was the worst person in the world. And there was measles. The measles epidemic was what COVID turned out to be. They tried to convince us that measles was going to kill us all. Right. And that we needed to run out and get measles vaccines. We needed to go out there and get vaccinated for the measles. So much so that they
But they fucked up because the people my mom's age are still
alive
enough to remember that almost all of them had measles as a kid.
Measles and German measles. I guess there's two different kinds, but they had them both.
They all survived it. So they didn't all go running out and then tell their kids and grandkids they needed to go running out. They waited. They didn't wait a generation long enough.
Okay, so let him have 10 minutes.
No.
Did he eat his dinner?
Yes.
Okay, so let him have the 10 minutes, and then you get an extra 10 minutes, dude. Just chill.
Unless can we play till 9 today?
Sure.
Okay.
But yeah, so if they had waited until my mom's generation died off, or
They couldn't.
got to the age of senility,
They couldn't.
They could have gotten away with the measles thing.
They couldn't because the things were happening. Me Too was happening in 2016 and shit. Like Pizzagate was a huge, I don't know if Me Too was 2016, but Pizzagate was a huge thing in 2016. So in 19, they have us focus on Michael Jackson, who's dead. Not the pedophiles that exist, not the Corey Haim story that's bubbling up. Corey Haim was doing the thing at the time. He was putting the movie together, right? The movie came out at the end of 2019 or maybe the beginning of 2020. So the movie was in the process of being filmed and put together at the time. But there are so many, you know, there's the Terry Richardson story that nobody knows anything about. You know, Terry Richardson is this photographer who, if you look up Terry Richardson nude on Google, you'll see a bunch of your hot celebrities that you know in compromised positions. You'll see Macaulay Culkin at, I don't know, 16, maybe less, doing a cum spit out of his mouth onto his own chest. Like, it's fucking gross. This guy is a fucking monster. Johnny Knoxville.
Athletic director come back up again during that time too?
No, we're still later. But so we're supposed to be focused on Michael Jackson, and then we're supposed to be focused on measles. Now measles, they say that we're supposed to be scared and run out and get vaccinated because there's 1,200 cases confirmed in the United States. 860 of them are based out of the same two Jewish neighborhoods that were the first to be the first neighborhoods in all of the country to be quarantined off during COVID. It was those same Jewish neighborhoods
in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
Suburbs are.
Yeah. So we're all supposed to be scared because Jews, Israelis are catching measles. It's fucking, it's crazy. But suddenly, out of the blue, so actually, CBS Morning News. It used to be Gayle King, uh, what's her name? Fuck. Nora O'Donnell or O'Donnell or O'Connell or something.
O'Donnell.
O'Donnell and Anthony Mason, maybe. I don't know. That might be. I don't know.
That's the dude that died, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't pay attention to it enough. But they were the three like co-hosts of the CBS Morning News. Oh no, this was before that. This was back when it was Nora, um, Gayle King, and two Jews. One was named Biana, and the other one was that course the guy that can't remember his name. He used to spin his pen around his finger. It was kind of cool. But his dad was like a political correspondent, so somehow he was qualified to be a news anchor. And then suddenly, Biana quits, or Biana just disappears. I never knew what happened to Biana. One day they were like, Biana's not going to be here anymore. It's her last day. And that was it. She was just gone. Never heard anything about her, never saw her again. They also employed, what were the brothers? It's right on the tip of my tongue. The two guys the two brothers, associated with the Clintons. The Podesta brothers. Laura Podesta, John Podesta's kid, is a correspondent for CBS News at the time. But what's his name? And Biana, they start the segment by going, well, me and Biana have already had our shots. I can't remember if it was flu shots or measles shots, but
No, it was the COVID shot.
no, it wasn't. This was before that. He was like, we've already had our shots, but Gayle and Nora are gonna get shots on live TV today, and they have the two Jew doctors that they use. Forgot what the guy has a goofy name. I forget what it is, but he comes out, and Nora's like, they're talking, and Gayle says, well, let me ask you this. I'm really healthy. I never get sick. I eat well. I take good care of myself. And I'm desperately afraid of needles. So why should I get COVID, or why should I get the flu shot? And he was like, oh, now we get he was like, he immediately ignored all of her first shit. Like, she set it up so that he could do this. He was like, well, the needles that we use now are so small, you'd never feel it anyway, and blah, 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 blah. So you could tell Gayle didn't want anything to do with getting the shot. And so, like, they're like, we're going to go to commercial and we'll come back. Like, you could tell there's sort of this tension. And they come back from commercial, and I'm sure some sort of deal was struck. But Nora gets her shot, and she's just kind of looking all zombie robot. She gets her shot. She's whatever. Oh yeah, that actually happened. Sorry, that happened before. That's when Noah spoke up, or that's when Gayle spoke up and said those things. Now they come back commercial, and they're in this like room with a couch in it, but it's made of plexiglass, so you can see through it. I don't understand the purpose of it. Is the illusion of privacy? I'm not really sure.
It's to normalize people being segregated.
The way they have it set up, the doctor is sitting. So the camera's here. I'm the doctor, or I'm Nora, or I'm Gayle, and the doctor is here, right? This was on a Thursday. The next day was Friday. Normally, when one of them's not going to be there, the next day they say something like, "Oh, we're not going to be here," blah 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 blah. The next day, Nora wasn't there. Nora got sick. And I think she was sick the following Monday as well. However, Nora, soon after that, got given the head anchor of the CBS Evening News job, while Gail was given the lead anchor position of Good Morning, of the CBS The Morning. Funny how they both got a huge promotion shortly after that, and the other two, they're not even up. The one dude's so badly they wanted back then, so they were pulling out these stories just straight out of their ass. It was fucking crazy. And so, I mean, it's just such bullshit. The whole fucking thing. You couldn't do it. You couldn't tie a sheet around your neck and then tie it to the bottom rung of your bed and lean forward enough to kill yourself. You couldn't do it. Your body.
Some weight.
The day before, 3 men came to visit him, and he signed over all of his estate and fortune and everything to those guys. Don't really know who those guys are. No, actually, I think we did know, and either 2 out of the 3 or 3 out of the 3 were dead.
Sheet.
Right.
That shit doesn't stay.
No, you can climb down windows with it. Just tie them together. But to think you couldn't, you just couldn't. I'm gonna lean forward and hang myself. But how could you even do it? It's just stupid. And again, the 2 cameras that were on there didn't work. Both the guards fell asleep. Although, what's his name? William Barr came out. He saw video of foul play.
Couldn't have been put on loop.
Well, that's just no. There's no foul play. So the thing is, too. Shortly after that, Barr does that implosion on TV. Like, Barr was brought in. People forget it was the 3rd, I think, Secretary of State for the year Trump had. The other 2 got in trouble. What? Right, where he was brought in as like the act. It was so weird. You never. So, this is, and this is when I started asking this question as well. So back then, they didn't say this is what was happening. This was the last government live feed that worked this way, where after this, they started saying that all government things that you see now will be filmed through one government camera beamed out to the rest of or the other news agencies could all, go off of all of that shit in real time. We're not watching a production, how is it that somebody could be giving a speech and saying, it was during the Trump impeachment, one of the lawyers got up and he was reading his bullet point thing. And when he would read it, the graphic would come across the screen saying, a bullet point and then saying the thing. And he was going to give 5 bullet points. And he did the first 4. And I don't know, maybe he ad-libbed or something for the last one. On the 4th one. But the 5th bullet point showed up before he mentioned it. And you go, okay, if there's not pre-production, then how could that have possibly happened? It showed up and then it disappeared real quick, and then he said his little thing, and then it showed up. So somebody had fucked up. But, after this is when they said that, and I've always wondered, how do you have all these different news agencies that are all led to? But Barr was on TV, and Barr was doing that testimony, and it was like his first thing. This was them bringing him in, and Barr's actually a decent-sized guy. And when they brought him in, he was walking through the hallways like this, and like had this goofy smile. And they brought him out, and so all the TV stations are showing it.
Wait,
And
Seen or Barr?
Barr, and Barr is getting grilled by the panel, by the whatever they were. I don't know if it was in front of Congress or which one it was, Senate, but I don't know. I think it was sweating, and he's like, it's like
It's painful to watch. I remember watching that.
it was a breakdown. You've never seen a government official break down like that, but he's third string.
And it's like, dude, you're an attorney and you are falling the fuck apart under pressure like this.
Right. He's the head attorney of the country. He's the number one like attorney, and
It was embarrassing.
he's just falling apart. And so they go. It only like 10, 15 minutes into it, like the panel can see that he's falling apart. So he's not like they're supposed to grill him and he's supposed to give it back. Like it's supposed to be sort of, some sort of argument, but they're on the same team. It's WWE. But he he's falling apart so bad that the maybe it was Schiff at the time. I think it might have been Schiff. Says, all right, well, we're just gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna get back.
Fight.
Right.
And they stop. Everybody needs to take a rest.
Right.
Just take a rest.
And not only that, but then so all of the TV stations, they go, okay, well, we're just gonna go back to regularly scheduled programs, and we're not gonna show the conclusion of this.
Yep.
And
Because we only allotted so much time.
no,
That's
it wasn't even that. It was just like they didn't even say that. We're gonna go back and we'll just when you want to know the rest, just come back and watch. If there's 5 stations, 4 of them do that. But the one station's gonna go, hey, wait a minute. This is quite possibly the greatest fucking
Right. Court TV station.
Right,
There
this-
is a station called Court TV.
right. This is probably the greatest fucking politician falling apart like this for all if we do that.
There
right?
was no other important case for Court TV to have shown that day.
Right.
That's for goddamn sure.
And not a single station decided to go back and see how that ended. Well, Barr was then sent to Alaska. There was a town in Alaska that was having some issues, and there hadn't been like a United States official there in like 100 years or some shit. And Barr was sent to Alaska. Why? Because then nobody can talk to him. Nobody's going to show up at his front doorstep. Reporters. So you have Epstein happen in October, or I mean in August. You have the military games, the like the Olympic style military games that happened in Wuhan, China, in
October.
I think it was September, maybe it was October. I don't know, one of the two.
Yeah, because October is when they found the first case of COVID.
No, what it was there was 4 soldiers that were like so America usually just cleans up at these war games, at these military games. Like we get all the gold medals. This year we didn't get any. This year we had all our B stringers there, I guess. But there were 4 American soldiers who were taken to the hospital with what turned out to be COVID symptoms. But they had been walking all around the open air markets and all this other shit. Supposedly, well, you put it together. But they were in the hospital for 2 weeks. They were discharged, and who knows who they are, who knows where they went, who knows anything about that.
If they live.
But the first, but suddenly now you start having these cases popping up, but it's not necessarily official. And the first official case was on December 1st in Japan. Prior to this, in November, I believe it's November. See, all this happened so tightly, I'm sort of screwing it up maybe, but I think it's really significant that Law and Order SVU did their Epstein episode. And it's like, it's a 3-part episode, so it's 3 hours of TV. You have to think about this. Epstein dies maybe like 3 or 4 months earlier, 3 months earlier. In that 3 months, you've written the story. You've gotten all the permits necessary for all the different shooting locations. You've set up all the sets and everything like that. You've cast all the different actors that you need to cast. You've done all the shooting that you need to shoot for 3 hours. An hour-long TV show is doing a 3-hour-long story, a three different episode story. You cast all that out. You film it all. You edit it all, and then it 3 months later? That's how that process goes? It's that fucking easy to make TV shows? But you have that, and then you also have the Andrew thing that happens, where Andrew does that interview.
Okay, wait a second. Going back to that timeline. Okay, so I went to go see New Kids on the Block a couple weeks ago, right here, and they've been advertising that the final season of Blue Bloods will be starting in October when the new season starts, whatever. The day after the New Kids concert, Danny was Donnie, whatever, was shooting the final episode of the final season. So that was June for the following almost June. I mean, it goes what, from October till spring. He was filming that. You see what I'm saying? Like,
right. That's a much larger.
And that was just one season finale, or series finale episode and it had to be done almost a year in advance, so the editing and all the other shit can take place.
Right.
So yeah, that makes absolutely no sense.
So you also have this thing with Prince Andrew, who gives the interview that, so what about this picture? And he says, well, back then I didn't sweat. No, I didn't sweat then. I had been through a situation where I was in a shooting, and since then I haven't been able to sweat. And as ridiculous as all that is, what's even more ridiculous is that such a seasoned interviewer, as I can't remember which dumb fucking chick it is, but she didn't go, that's kind of bullshit.
Wasn't that Diane Sawyer?
Might be, I don't know. The fact that she was like, oh,
Yeah, that
okay,
makes sense.
yeah, well,
I'll believe that.
there's pictures of you being all sweaty since then, and multiple times around then, so I don't know what you're talking about. But that thing took place. So you have the Andrew story that's attached to Epstein. And all of this is taking place just as COVID is starting to hit. And COVID, I remember the week that...
And what did the president say? Drink bleach.
The week that... No, he didn't say bleach. He didn't say
he
drink
did.
it. He didn't say drink it. He said inject it. Can't we inject bleach or something?
He said drink.
No, drinking bleach is stupid. What are you, dumb? God, can you keep it down? Because you're kind of embarrassing me. I'm sorry my wife is so stupid. Drinking bleach.
Trees, they spontaneously combust.
Drinking bleach.
They just explode. Just randomly.
Trump knows you can't drink bleach, dumbass. Now injecting it, that's actually genius. So stupid.
Go out and vote for that fuckface.
But all of this starts to take place just as COVID is going. And the first, I remember it, the day that that Corey Feldman was starting his sort of press tour to getting ready to launch his movie, the Rape of Two Coreys.
That still has not been released to public.
I don't know. I don't.
Still has not been released.
I don't buy him at all. He's a Feldman. I don't. There's something else going on with that whole thing, because as soon as that movie came out, he was like, "Hey, you guys, I'm a rock star. I make these really shitty rock songs." But he was, that morning he was starting his press tour, is the morning that we heard about the woman, the unnamed, going to remain unidentified woman, who is now on the ventilator in the hospital with COVID, in San Jose or Northern California, somewhere like that. And it's like, okay, so wait. You're saying this is a potential pandemic. you're not going to post her face all over the place and name and shit and be like, hey, this woman has this thing. As the woman, of course, the woman is going to be like, hell yeah, I don't want anybody else getting this. So yeah, you can use my face. You're gonna post this and say, if any of you have seen this woman or been in these areas in the last 3-4 days, please come in and get tested. Because we're trying to prevent a pandemic from taking place. This is pandemic. They know that this is COVID and blah blah. It doesn't work that way. It's just this secret. And then suddenly we have the old folks home in like Oregon or wherever where they had the sheet up so you couldn't see who the person was, and like it just snowballed from there. But they use this narrative, this fake narrative that mimics the 1976 swine flu vaccination program narrative, where they pretended like we had something, a coronavirus that we needed to get inoculated for. And 46 million Americans ran out and got inoculated without question. And then 4,000 plus started suing the government, because back then you could still sue the government and they hadn't passed that legislation until these 4,000 people had filed their lawsuits. And finally, the government was like, okay, nobody can file any more lawsuits. Let's pass this legislation. And you know how the government works really quickly? Yeah, they just put that shit right through. So now nobody can, from then on, nobody can sue the government or the vaccine manufacturers for the damages that come from vaccines. But the COVID thing, the coronavirus, they lie. They keep us hating each other. They do all these things at the same time. The Jewish narrative, like this is what got me looking into Israel. Well, no, COVID being all that the news wanted to talk about, because I would watch CBS News in the morning every day, and then I would watch the 700 Club after that. When that news was over, the 700 Club was starting, so I'd watch it like that. And I felt very informed. At least I knew what they wanted us to know. And then when COVID came out, it was all just, that's all it would be. That's all they would talk about. And I just felt really dumb because of it.
That's pretty much when we stopped watching news altogether.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And then it was like a couple of weeks went by, and I was like, I don't like this feeling of being uninformed. I at least want to start reading the news, but what news do I read? You know, how do I know which news to look up? And then it dawned on me, like, I don't, you know, I've noticed a few times that when I look at the Israeli news, whatever's happening there, it happens here later on. It seems like it's the testing ground or something. I don't quite know. Especially back then, it was all just sort of new, but I figured I'd start reading. I'd put Israel in the Google machine and click news and just see what happens. And I was amazingly well informed with what was going on in the United States by reading Israeli news, because I would read about shit. It would be happening there, and then it would happen here. And it was weird to watch it all take place. And at the same time, again, Trump is funneling as much money and power as he can into Israel. And it's become like a nightmare. It's really fucking scary, actually. And so jumping ahead, we get to, like, this is over this time, from 2000, I think it's from 2000 until 2003. Yeah, from maybe it was the end of 2019 to 2003, but it was just, yeah, sorry, 2023. Israel had 5 elections in just under 4 years.
Who does that?
Nobody does that. Nobody's allowed to do that, especially not some ally that we supposedly give a bunch of money to and blah 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 blah. It just doesn't work that way. We would call corruption in the government, and we would come in and shut things down. But it was all about protecting Netanyahu because Netanyahu had all these corruption charges hanging above his head. And they needed to like soothe the people, I guess. But
Why
really,
didn't they just pass a law that he doesn't have to serve any time?
well, we haven't gotten there yet. So they do these fucked up elections. It starts with Netanyahu and then Benny Gantz, who ends up being like a huge political figure anyway. But Benny Gantz wins, and he's the prime minister for like a month or two, maybe a little bit longer, I don't know. And then they have another election, and Netanyahu wins it back. And then they go a little bit more, and now Naftali Bennett, who the only difference between what Naftali Bennett and Netanyahu believed was Netanyahu believes that every Israeli should serve in the military at 18, so that if something ever happens in the future, they can get called back. You know, that you're always a trained soldier, you always belong to Israel. So they have this reserve sort of program that's you know, most of their population. Naftali Bennett's side believed that that's what Goyim are for, and that Jewish boys and girls, well, boys especially, Jewish boys should study the yeshiva and be sent around the world to do their pilgrimages and all that under the government dime. And you know, the girl, he didn't believe, he thought that the military should be choice, if that, more than anything, that they just shouldn't do it because that's what the Americans are for. So Naftali Bennett wins, and he is prime minister up until like May of 2023, where I can't remember if it's he or Yair Lapid, because Naftali Bennett just decided he was going to step down as prime minister. So, and they didn't have 5 elections; they had 5 prime ministers. Sorry, 4 elections. So when Naftali Bennett decided to step down, Yair Lapid, who has been an actor used by the system since Morgan Spurlock's, at least Morgan Spurlock's Where in the World is Osama bin Laden? He was the Israeli representative that was basically talking about how the genocide of the Palestinians is an inevitability. It's just how many are going to die, pretty much. That was, and he was supposed to be like the good guy, reasonable side, like the way that he put it, you know, like no, not necessarily. No, he was like very accommodating. He was like, you know, well, the war is inevitable, and it's really sad, but it really just comes down to how many are going to die. Like, he wasn't talking about how many Israelis are going to die. He was talking about how many Palestinians. But he suddenly just is qualified to be prime minister. So now he's prime minister up until the 2023 elections, November of 2023, when Kanye West is told to do his thing. And that election is when not just Netanyahu, but Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich and Avi Moaz, like the 3 most psychotic fucking Israelis you can find, are also coming aboard as the highest positions in the government. They're all going to get their super high positions. So Yair Lapid, who is opposing Netanyahu and who believes that the election was rigged, he releases a statement that as much as he's not a big fan of the way things are working out, what's the most important is the state of Israel. So he is going to step down without any sort of challenge or problems, because all that matters is Israel. And so this coalition that Netanyahu brought in basically ran under the platform that they were going to retake the West Bank. They were going to just kill as many Palestinians as they could. and that they were going to do a judicial overhaul. The judicial overhaul was going to make it so the charges that Netanyahu were guilty of, those crimes could, like a person in his position, that actually all government employees in those high positions can't be charged with corruption or any of those things. So if they get rid of the laws, then those charges never really existed in the first place. That was the whole premise behind what Netanyahu was saying. So he absolutely ran under what, truthfully, that's what he was going to do. Starting in January, the Israeli people got together every Saturday, had themselves a protest of the fact that the executive branch, Netanyahu, was going to override the judicial branches, not override, was going to overhaul the judicial branch, their ability to scrutinize. They were going to limit the ability to scrutinize the electoral branch's decisions. And the reason for it isn't because they disagreed on a whole bunch of things. It's because there were multiple times where the executive branch wanted to kill more Palestinians and the judicial branch stopped them. That's literally the only thing they disagreed on. Now, like I said, back in May or something like that of 2023, either Naftali Bennett or Yair Lapid worked out a deal with the Indian government to bring 42,000 slaves, supervised workers, from India into. They were going to be trained, supervised laborers who were going to be brought in. 38,000 of the 42,000 were going to be earmarked for construction jobs, and the other 4,000 were going to be for elderly care jobs. Taking care of elderly Jews is so bad, even Jews don't want to do it. And they're not going to do construction jobs. Are you fucking kidding me? Well, that's what they had the Palestinians for. That at the time, the Palestinians were those people. So the question is, does Israel have a surplus of jobs that they just need to bring more people in? Or is something going to happen to the Palestinians? Turns out we're at about 42,000 deaths since October 7th. Strange, huh? Strangely coincidental.
But their services are going to go off without any interruption because they brought in slaves from a different country instead.
Right. Their lives will just be. They release videos all the time talking about how life is good in Israel. There's no threat. They live under the protection of the Iron Dome, so they know there's nothing going to get through. So they get their government checks. They treat fucking people like shit. Now they can easily identify them because they don't look just like them. Now they look like Indians, so they can treat them like shit really openly. The Jews are real famous for spitting on Christians. Jews walking around Israel, if they see somebody that they know is a Christian, they spit on them. Not Greek spit. They hawk loogies on them. They're disgusting. They're fucking disgusting. But this whole time, because, they want to kill more Palestinians, they have a plan. The people are doing these weekly festivals, protests, where, once it starts getting hot, they bring out the water cannon truck, but they have it on like low, so it just squirts out like a hose stream that all the hot people can get cool off. They show these pictures of these Jews with just all in white, blue and white flags everywhere, blah blah blah. They somehow block off a freeway and then bring in enough debris to have a huge bonfire in the middle of the freeway, highway, whichever one you call it. And the newscasters across the board are calling them democracy fighters. When it's black people doing it because black people are getting shot like crazy by police, well, those are thugs and they need to be taken out. They need to be handled significantly without prejudice. When it's Jews doing it, they're democracy fighters. They're admirable. They're good people. And so anyone from elderly people to high school kids are supposedly so upset, not that Israel is killing Palestinians, innocent Palestinians left and right, but because the judicial branch and the executive branch are not getting along. Aren't you that, when you were in high school, didn't you follow the executive and judicial branch and their relationship with each other? But all of these people are because of these protests, they're saying that like the one action that they're taking, other than their Saturday protest, they're all signing these petitions that say if there's some sort of conflict that happens in the near future because of the executive branch and the judicial branch not getting along, we are going to refuse to fight in any sort of random conflict that may spark up. Nothing like that's happened in like 20 years. Yeah,
Can me, Rosie, and Nate go jump on the trampoline?
absolutely.
Go.
Thank you.
At her house?
Take your watch. Take your watch. Um. What was that?
I was.
They say they just happen to decide the one way the people are going to protest against their government is that if there's a random conflict that stirs up, they're not going to fight in it. What a uniquely specific thing to be protesting, huh? Turns out they kind of must have known something was going to happen. But this all happens in like August, September. There's like different stages. Part 1 happens in, say, August. Part 2 happens in September. And each time, 10,000 more Israelis sign the petition saying they refuse to, bullshit. At the same time, the visa waiver program is in order. And Israel is trying to get this visa waiver thing, which says they're basically it's this thing that makes whatever country is involved in it is basically like the United States, and we can travel there, they can travel here without all of the usual rigmarole involved and the passports and all that. It's basically like they're a part of the United States, right? And the United States wants Israel to be a part of this program worse than anything. And Israel has a few stipulations that they need to meet, mainly showing that the Palestinian Americans that are traveling in Israel are being treated with the same dignity that they treat Jews with, or that they would expect if they came here. And that's not happening, like, at all. The Palestinian Americans that are coming to try to see their families, they're getting denied, they're getting treated like shit, they're getting arrested, all these things are happening. And Israel's like, yeah, we're not going to stop doing that. We're just going to keep treating people however the fuck we want. The United States doesn't tell us shit. So the United States goes, well, listen, we think you're going to do it, so we're going to give you until the day after Passover next year to just get this worked out. And you just have to start treating our people a little bit better when they come travel there. But from here on out, you're in the visa waiver program. That's one of the 3 stipulations, the main stipulation that you had to meet. You didn't meet it, but we're going to pretend like you did. So now any Israelis that want to, I don't know, suddenly leave Israel and come here, they can. No problem. And that all went through, I believe, on September 30th or right around there. And a week later, Israel fakes October 7th. Now, I know a lot of you think, this is how, that's why we've been talking about this the whole time. We were getting here. I told you we had to go with this, and there's going to be parts where I jump back here in a minute too. But October 7th, one of the most heavily surveilled areas in the world, in that part of the world at least. Suddenly there's a rush of thousands of Hamas on motorcycles and paragliders that storm the the border and cause a bunch of ruckus. End up supposedly at the time killing around 1,400 people in Israel and taking 253 hostages. Again, on motorcycles and paragliders and shit. Stories start coming out where, this one female reporter lies and says that there was a like a room full of babies. As soon as I heard it, I was like, why would there be a room full of babies? Why would there be 42 babies in a room anywhere? But there were 42 babies in the room that were supposedly beheaded and then burnt. This reporter put this story out. Turns out it was bullshit. But October 7th is, they supposedly stormed a concert. All these things supposedly happened, and there's next to no footage of it. Nowhere. One piece of footage you can see is from like super far away and up high. And you can see that there are these 3 explosions that take place, boom, in a row, boom, boom, real nice and neat straight line, one after another. And it's supposedly these car bombs that went off. Now, if you look at the scene up close, it's this weirdly placed car in the middle of sort of nothing, and almost nothing else is damaged by it. It's a really interesting spot that just happened to get blown up. But they say that is the narrative is that again that around 1,400 were killed and around 250 were taken. Now that's the narrative that they give us. It's not true. None of it's true. I don't think any hostages were taken. Any real hostages were taken, and I don't think anyone was killed. Now, I know a lot of you will say, what do you mean, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to tell you it's because Israel lies a lot. They use the media to lie. The United States passed the Munt-Smith Act, which says that the United States can propagandize its citizens, show us false news if they need to. Like, I don't know why they would need to pass a law to say that they can do it to us, but for some reason they do. Israel does the same thing. They lie to us all the time. They're Jews. They think very low of us, and they have no issue lying to us, and neither do the people. And a great example of that is the High Shaline thing, the High Shaline story, where during COVID, Israel's number one anti-mask, anti-vax, anti-green pass protest guy, his name was H-A-I, Shaline, Shaulain. He was Israel's number one guy. He was at a protest rally, an anti-mask protest rally, so I would assume he was surrounded by a bunch of other anti-maskers. Anti-mask protest rally, where he was supposedly suddenly arrested by the police and taken to prison, to jail. 2 days later, he was taken to the hospital where he was diagnosed with super COVID. Because from the time he got arrested to the time he was dead was 10 days. He was in prison, jail for 2 days. So 7 days later was Saturday. He hadn't been seen or heard of for 7 days. He suddenly releases a statement saying he's so sick that he can't talk or respond to messages. But he believes that the police poisoned him. He's still anti-vax, anti-blah blah blah. But he believes that he'll get through this in a couple of weeks with some God and some medicine. But he believes the police poisoned him, and he'll be in touch. So this guy was supposedly in jail, but was somehow allowed to send a message, even though he was, I get that he's in the hospital, but if he's in the hospital, that still doesn't automatically mean he should have access to a cell phone or why would he be able to send a text or leave a message like that if he was in custody? Turns out that was on a Saturday. The next day he died.
So crazy.
Next day he died of COVID. Which again, what do you say? Like, did he die of some sort of failure of something? He died of COVID. COVID killed him. What did COVID kill him? The green virus with the red stripes on it, or the red spots, that killed him? Would it suffocate? What did it do? But it killed him, just like the Jews always do in these kind of stories. The next day, his brother's being interviewed on the way to the funeral. Because when Jews die, somehow they have funerals the next day. Whenever a body needs to disappear so that there can't be any sort of investigation, they have the funeral the next day. Or, even better,
Don't they have to be buried within 3 days?
they have to be buried within 72 hours. So their belief structure automatically protects them from being investigated. Because of their religious beliefs, that trumps everything. That trumps law, that trumps, whatever, to try to get to the bottom of a crime. Well, the body has to be in the ground within 72 hours according to Jewish beliefs. Who gives a fuck? That's fucking stupid. The body needs to be examined and shit, which means either they're not properly examined, or anybody that's already dead gets pushed to the side because a Jew's body comes in. And the mortician, the whatever it is, instantly starts working on them instead.
What about the Jews that had died, just random burglary, whatever, and were missing for months and months, and when they found them, they had been dead for months? Do those Jews go to hell because they didn't get buried?
I don't hear about those Jews. I've never heard about those Jews. Those Jews' story don't come up.
Well,
Anyway,
the fact that they're Jewish, it probably doesn't come up. But
It would, especially if it was like Harvey Finkelstein. But what was I saying?
he said, the last thing he said, basically that they're set up.
Right. So there's a story about 6 months ago where supposedly some Hamas agents opened fire on a Israeli gas station, killing 4 people. Now, what I think happens is the Jews, they're people of opportunity. So if there happens to be a car accident that kills 4 people, then they can stage it so it looks like it's, it was 4 people working, because it's never more than like 4 people that are in 2, 3. It's always what could have easily been a car accident worth of people that's involved in these things. But 2 of the 4 people were these girls that within 2 hours of being killed had their funeral and were buried. Now, if you could tell me how that's fucking possible, I'd love to know. But this is the narrative that they give us. In High Shaline, his brother was on the way to the funeral, and when they asked him, do you think he would have changed his mind, he said no. So, after this guy dies, he's the biggest protester in the Israeli world. He's the number 1 thorn in the side of the government for masks, vaccines, all of it. He's a big-time protester. There's not a single video of him that exists. There's literally no fucking paper trail of this guy. Not only that, none of the people that were like his friends or his family demanded an investigation into why this guy said the police poisoned him. It's not a real story. It's a lesson for you. It's to tell you that you could be arrested for nothing and then you'll die mysteriously. And even if you manage to say the police poisoned you, nobody's going to do shit about it. That's what they're telling you. Heisheline didn't exist. You don't have no digital footprint, especially when you're the biggest fucking protest guy in your area. Come on. Do you know how stupid that is? But that's what Israel will do. Israel will lie. They'll create narratives. They'll make people up. They'll do whatever they have to do. So saying that 1,200 people were killed, they'll do that. The number's been since lowered to around 1,200. And what you'll see if you read carefully, you'll see all the news says around 1,200 people were killed in Israel. That's not how they refer to themselves. They refer to themselves as Israelis, Jewish. They will never, or people of Israel, but people in Israel could be anything. And if you look at the Israel-Hamas war 2023, at the time it was 2023, it's 2023, 2024 now, Wikipedia page, and I know a lot of you be like, Wikipedia, blah, blah, blah. My wife used to say, anybody can edit Wikipedia. And yeah, some pages can be, but not this page. This page you had to have like 60 some hours of edit time or some shit on Wikipedia. You had to have this really long, extensive previous track record before you'd be considered by one committee, who if they approved you, you'd be considered by a second committee. And if the second committee approved you, then you could comment on this, you could edit this page. But I went to the page, and it's not me telling a story of something. I did this. I went to the page, I went to the edit history, I clicked, this was in 2023, so it was a lot easier. I clicked back as many times as I could, and it took a minute to get to the very first edit. The attack was said to have taken place at 6:30 a.m. local time. The very first edit on this page, I don't know when the page was created, but the first edit on the page was made at 6:22 a.m. on October 7th, 8 minutes before the attack took place. The surprise attack that nobody knew was going to happen, blah, 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 blah. Even if it was reversed, the idea that 8 minutes after an attack, somebody's running out and creating a Wikipedia page is highly unlikely. But within the first, I managed to do the edits for the first like 3 hours or so. And it was like 1,000 edits had taken place. There was maybe five or six profiles that were just coming through and adding, and then one would edit and it would trim it up and they would move stuff around. But these five or so profiles worked really hard to create this narrative. And they were talking about things that wouldn't come out till much later in the day within the first 3 hours. And within the first half hour to an hour, the majority of the narrative for the day, the week, was already laid out. It's really weird. That's a dog. But the damn dog throwing me off. The one thing the Wikipedia page said that was that Hamas launched 5,000 rockets at Israel within the first 20 minutes. That's 4 rockets per second. And it happened so fast that they weren't able, there's no footage of it because it all happened so fast.
You went to fireworks shows, multiple fireworks shows. Did any of them last that long?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And if they did, how many rockets do you think they shot off?
They weren't shooting 4 every second.
And think of how expensive just fireworks are, not things that are meant to like destroy stuff.
No, missiles and rockets and shit. Not just
Way
that. What
more
about the
expensive
launchers?
than the fireworks.
How many launchers do you have to be able to launch 4 per second for 20 minutes?
Just trying to put it into perspective cost-wise.
Right. And how is
Hamas does not
how
get
is
that
right?
kind of
How are
money.
these poor Palestinians who can't even get lumber to build their homes, rebuild their homes? How are they affording not just rockets but rocket launchers out the ass?
How much did
And
they
why
say-
could they only do it once?
How
We're-
much did they say fireworks? So
It's just
it would be like tens of millions of dollars that they spent on that they knew was going to hit an Iron Dome and just bounce off.
no what
Or
get destroyed. But the thing is, again, as always, supposedly the rockets get shot into the Israelis' airspace so that they can be, and 99% of the missiles that were shot down, of course.
So now you spent tens of millions of dollars.
And you give Israel the go-ahead.
Right.
You
to
give
come
Israel
destroy you.
the excuse they need. Who's going to do that?
That makes perfect
It
sense.
makes no sense. And especially since you don't have a second round, apparently.
Right.
There wasn't a second round. But so they acknowledge that within the first, few minutes, hours, 1,500 Hamas had been killed in Israel. So, from this point on, when you hear over and over and over that around 1,200 people were killed in Israel, and they're not saying Israelis, they're saying around 1,200 people, they're telling you the truth. They're just inferring, I don't know which one it is, implying that it was Israelis that were killed. They don't say it, but they make it sound like it was. But it wasn't. It was the poor fucking the poor
That a lot of them probably got beat in the streets after all that shit went down.
oh,
because
it was
were
disgusting.
Palestinian.
Well, nothing went down. That's the thing. None of that happened. That's why there's no footage of it. This is the most heavily surveilled area in the world. It didn't happen. Israel did all of it. Whatever happened, Israel did it. And they just said things happened. If anything, if they launch missiles into the air, they launch them into an agreed upon place, coordinates, where they know the Iron Dome can shoot them down the easiest. It's all fake. Israel, again, Palestinians have 5,000 rockets to just launch, or Israel has 5,000 rockets to launch. Like it's to give Israel the excuse to perform genocide. Now you have to know a lot more shit that I just don't feel like saying anymore. But I guess I kind of have to because I got to finish this. So you have to know a couple of stories that took place prior to October 7th to really understand what's going on. One story is that what happened on October 7th, the response that Israel had, they tried to do earlier in the year. They were ready to do it. And what I think is that their intel, the smarter people in the group were like, hey, you can't do this. But apparently some dumb drunk Jew kid was driving through the Palestinian area, running people off the road, yelling shit, just being a menace. He was drunk and he crashed, and he died in the crash. And his body, even though he was this piece of shit, was taken to the closest hospital, which was the Palestinian hospital. Where he died, or maybe he died in the crash, I'm not sure. But his dead body was there. And somebody supposedly stole that dead body. Now again, no footage, no claimer, why would anybody steal a dead body, especially knowing how Israel is? But Netanyahu was like, oh, fuck that. Maybe it wasn't Netanyahu. I don't remember who it was. It was one of them. Was like, fuck that. They were ready to bring a full invasion into the Gaza Strip to get a dead body back. Right? So when they talk about how, it seems like the Netanyahu and company don't really care about getting the hostages back. It's because there's no hostages. No real hostages. God, this is such a long fucking presentation. I keep thinking about all the different pieces and how much I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to get off this shit and talk tomorrow, which is what I'm going to do. See ya. Hopefully you come back to hear the rest. www.the-bilderberg, BILDERBERG-group.com. Go get your free download. See ya.
I thought they were on the